Give me big old buckets of butter beer. Give me big old barrels of butter beer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butter beer.
Welcome to the Three Broomsticks. We invite you to pull up a chair, grab a butterbeer or a potion, and settle in for a hearty discussion about Harry Potter. I'm Irvin Cateman.
And I'm Ev McLaughlin. And Karoline is going to join us a little bit later. But another person joining us today is our guest, Gilad, who is our returning guest, who has recorded the first part of the Potions episode with us. So welcome back, Gilad.
Thank you. So glad to be back.
So glad to continue having you with us. It has become a bit of a thing this year where we have first-time guests and we put them through the ringer with like a two-parter. So we're very happy you stuck around. And listeners, today for episode 92, we have gathered to continue discussing potions. We started this for episode 90, and then a couple hours in, we were like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a multi-part episode." So yes, we are continuing and hopefully concluding our potions discussion with this episode for episode number 92. We highly recommend you go and listen to the first part of this potions episode, which is episode 90. Before tuning back in here. And in general, we recommend our entire potion series of episodes. We've spent a large chunk of the year talking about various potions and the chapters named after them, and it's been great fun. And we also recommend Joe's article about potions on Pottermore, where, she provides a lot of color commentary, and we're going to be discussing that later. And before we dive into that discussion, we want to give a huge thanks to Ryan Post over on our Patreon, who bought us this round of drinks at the pub. So, yay! Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Listeners, if you want to buy us around at the pub, please head on over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with the numeral 3 to sign up. Very on topic for this episode, you can listen to Tavi and Karoline talk about their favorite potions and invent new ones that they'd like to have to live long, healthy, and ethically mindful lives. There's lots of really great content coming down the pike on our Patreon, so we'd really appreciate your help in keeping the lights on at the Three Broomsticks so we can talk about Harry Potter for a long time to come.
And before we dive into the continuation of our potions discussion, I would like to offer a toast to the comments on episode 89 when we discussed chapter 14 in Half-Blood Prince called Felix Felicis. And I would like to raise a glass to commenter, well, actually two commenters, so sorry about that, Louise Freeman and Absent-Minded Raven. So it didn't really make sense to select one over the other, so you get both. So there you go. So Louise says, if you have read The Phoenix and the Flame, a book about Rowling's original plans for Order of the Phoenix, Irvin and I both contributed a chapter, you'll find that original outline for Order of the Phoenix was to have Gryffindor flattened in the final Quidditch match. There is no mention of Ron becoming keeper in his 5th year. This makes his need for placebo, even after overcoming his nerves and turning the Slytherins' Weasley is our king song against them at the end of the last book, make much more sense. To which Absent-Minded Raven replies, maybe it could have been explained as the after effects of Ron's brain encounter in the Department of Mysteries. That always felt like it should have been more significant than just some tendril scars on his forearms, and it messing with his coordination and the confidence seems reasonable. I thought that was a good point. It seemed like it should have been much more traumatic event for Ron, and if it was, it's kind of largely off-page. We do get that kind of a note that some scars are deeper than others. Can't quite remember the quote, and then just sort of gets left at that. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, that I think it's that thoughts leave more scarring than anything else, or something to that effect. Yeah. No, I really like this comment. So first of all, it cracked me up because Louise kind of specializes in book 5, 6 swaps within the Rowling canon. She's the one who offered up the theory that book 5 of Cormoran Strike was originally going to be book 6 and vice versa. So this made me laugh when I saw it. But no, I think it makes sense because I feel like a lot of the consequences of the Battle of the Department of Mysteries weren't quite present the way we'd expect. Like, at the end of book 5, there's a lot about Ron's brain scarring, and there's a lot about, like, how Hermione has to take 12 potions a day, and, like, it seems like there might be real consequences of Harry's blunder. And then in book 6, like, never mind. I think Ron makes a comment at one point. He's like, I've got scars. See, look. But that's about it. So yeah, I definitely think Louise might be onto something. And I actually really wish that, especially Ron's brain, scars factored in more in the later books. I feel like you could do something really good with that. You could have him have a magical injury. He could have flashes of someone else's thoughts, or some kind of illness that affects the brain, or you could really do something with that brain attack. And I feel like there wasn't quite as much follow through as I would expect from Rowling.
Yeah, he's just not suffering enough. That's basically what we're saying.
Yes, and we want him to suffer more, as everyone knows,
and be happy about it.
I wonder if there's something on its own, though, symbolic about at least Ron's brain attack. The fact that, even going forward, even if it's not really a divergence from already the way we're understanding his character, the fact that it's his problem, or the thing that he has to overcome in the last 2 books, which I think we do see a little bit more of than we do in the previous books, is fighting against himself and fighting against his own insecurities, or his own kind of deep-rooted issues. Whereas Hermione is, to the extent that she has a struggle in the last 2 books, I think it's much more about the bigger picture and the kind of the ability to magically defeat the problems out there, which I think has much more to do with the sort of physical injury that she gets from Dolohov. Although I wonder if there's something even more behind what exactly he does to her, because I don't really understand what it is other than just knocking her out and making it very hard for her to recover. But if there's something there we can understand in the later books related to the injuries that they got in the Department of Mysteries.
I really like that, actually. Because, yeah, Ron's battle is entirely, with his own thoughts. So, yeah, it actually... Oh, that's good. The brain attacking him is a harbinger of his, inner struggles in the last book. Oh...
Yes, and even in the 6th book, because I think we
very good.
We see in the 5th book, Hermione and Ron are actually quite. Sure, they have their smaller conflicts, but mostly it's Harry who's conflicts with himself and with the world that are coming to the fore, and they're able to set aside whatever other problems are lying in wait for them, and they kind of push it to the side, or they don't really get consumed by them. But that sort of changes in the 6th book, because Harry, who emerges from the Department of Mysteries unscathed, physically at least, he is much more confident. He's much more prepared. He's also starting to take it alone more than he was in the past. He wanted to take it alone in the 5th book, or in his 5th year, but he didn't have anywhere to go to except for his friends. But in the 6th year, that's when Dumbledore is able to start setting him aside a little bit more. First with the conversation at the end of the 5th year, and then with the fact that they're having the private lessons, and Hermione and Ron set aside a little bit more than they had been in the previous year. They're just starting to confront their own inner demons, and then it's in the 7th year when they actually have to overcome those. So I think there is something there, even if maybe there was an intention to develop that a little bit more specifically in the 6th book. I see those as very apt still for the way that the story progresses.
Yeah. Because because I'm trying to think what Hermione's arc is in the last book. I've written a lot about how part of her arc is realizing that, she can't just be a law unto herself, and that it doesn't work out for her, because so much of the, books 4 and 5 is Hermione just, taking out her nemeses, Rita Skeeter, Umbridge, and all of that, with, pretty much no adverse consequence. And then in the last book, those all, come back bigger and badder than ever. And it's Hermione, you, won a battle, but you didn't win the war. So I don't quite know how Dolohov's attack ties into that. So we'll need to workshop that. But for Ron, I think, even if the follow-through on the brain attack on a literal level doesn't work, on, a figurative foreshadowing level, I've been convinced.
All right.
Yeah. Well done, Louise and absent-minded Raven. That was very good fun. So, I think with that, we can dive on into our potions discussion.
Let's do it.
So first, we're going to issue the same housekeeping note as for part 1, which is we're only going to discuss the potions mentioned in the canonical books. So the Harry Potter books, Fantastic Beasts, Quidditch Through the Ages, Beetle the Bard. Because if we go into the video games and the mobile games and the Apocrypha, we're already, well into our second part episode, and we'd like to conclude sometime this year. And just a peek behind the curtain, when we started recording part 1, we were like, oh, we could keep going and do part 2. And so we recorded the next section about the potion in Voldemort's cave, and then we realized that we would actually like to sleep at some point, so we have reconvened for the rest of part 2. So here is our discussion about the potion in the cave, and us from 2 weeks in the future are going to be right back after that to pick it up from there. Okay, so let's talk about the potion in the cave.
Yes.
The, phosphorescent green one that Dumbledore drinks. And, oh my god, I feel like we could and maybe should have done an entire episode on this potion, because there are so many theories. There's so much analysis. I've had so much fun researching this.
It's a pretty horrible potion.
It is a really horrible one. It's the one that's protecting the locket Horcrux. And so when there's a locket in it, it's phosphorescent green. Once you drink it and there's nothing in it, it becomes clear. So the first thing we hear about this potion is Dumbledore telling us that this potion cannot be penetrated by hand, vanished, parted, scooped up, or siphoned away, nor can it be transfigured, charmed, or otherwise made to change its nature. And I love this line because it's just a fascinating rundown of all the, ways you can magically mess with something. I know we were talking earlier about, can you charm a potion? Can you futz with it? And apparently with some of the simpler ones you can, but certainly not with this one.
Yeah, that means you can actually use a spell on a potion.
Yeah, that kind of answers my question. I suppose you can.
Yeah. Well, we know that in potions class, Snape vanishes potions. He uses Evanesco.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that spells are often used when making potions, that you kind of need to, wave your wand over it a couple of times at the right moments. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And the other property of this, which isn't remarked upon but is remarkable, is that it automatically refills. Because it refills when Creature drank it, and then it refills after Dumbledore drank it, because when Voldemort checks on it in Deathly Hallows, there's still potions there. And this is by far the only case where we see a potion refilling. And I have to believe that the potion is actually being transported from somewhere. I think, going off of our theory, Voldemort has a giant vat of this potion sitting in a giant, cauldron big enough for a person, and that, whenever the potion is empty, the potion just magically is transported from that cauldron into the cave. Because, if a potion this powerful was just magically refilling out of nowhere, I think that just is a little bit world-breaking for me. So yes, I think Voldemort has a vat of this potion sitting for just such an eventuality.
But wouldn't he then notice that it's missing and or why does he do that? Because I had the feeling he thinks no one will figure it out. And if that one person who will figure it out comes there, they will die. And I don't think he ever imagined two people being able to get there.
I mean, I think that's just sort of backup measures. Like, he clearly anticipated that someone might be able to get there just because of the defense measures. And, I mean, I think even Voldemort isn't so arrogant as to think, well, it's like, well, maybe one person could figure it out, but surely no one else. So I think he would sort of set it up to put as many people as necessary through the trial.
But why does he then not have some kind of alert system where he is alerted that someone is there?
That is an excellent question, and yeah.
General arrogance?
Yeah, I think general arrogance. That, like...
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, why is he not so arrogant to think that more than just one person would come, and then... But on the other hand, he's so arrogant to say, like, I don't need an alert system? Like, it seems like the goal is the same, and his arrogance is...
Well, because if he's arrogant enough to believe that his defenses work, then it doesn't matter.
Oh, but it does. It does, because if he thinks someone has figured out he's using Horcruxes, then that person might have told someone else, you know? And that would be very important for him to know.
No, because Voldemort doesn't share, and Dumbledore doesn't share. So I think Voldemort doesn't think that people would be, you know, sharing this information freely.
No, but like if he thinks that more than one person will show up, he clearly thinks that it's not just Dumbledore who could figure it out.
Right, but I think he thinks they would figure it out independently. So, like, maybe a second person would show up.
Yeah,
like,
and then if another person independently who's not Dumbledore figures it out, that person could have talked. I agree with you that Dumbledore doesn't talk and that Voldemort probably knows that. But if another person figures it out, that person might share, hey, I'm looking for something with dark magic. If I don't turn up, that's what's happened. You know?
I feel you. You are correct. I'm just trying to reconcile as best I can the fact that we know the potion refills, and I think if the potion were automatically refilling from nothingness, that kind of goes against
that's weird.
What we know of potions.
We also know that Voldemort is not a Ravenclaw, so there is a certain amount of rational thought that I think a Ravenclaw would expect that just isn't applicable to other houses, mostly.
Yeah.
And does that then also mean that after, like, the, I don't know, 10th refill, it's empty? So if 10 people die, the 11th person can just come there and grab the Horcrux?
Yes. I think
smart.
there's a finite amount of this potion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I imagine that, like, you know, if hordes of people were marching through this cave, then Voldemort is like, I'd find out about that somehow. Some way.
What do you think would happen if the only thing that they can do with the potion, right, is to scoop it up, and that's the way to explain why it has to be drunk? But I sort of wonder what would happen if Dumbledore were to scoop it up and then dump it into the lake. Make as if he was drinking, and then, right? I mean, surely something bad would happen, but I just don't know what.
So the way I think this could be set up, and I'm really just trying to reverse engineer here, is the potion registers if it's ingested or not. And so if potion is thrown out and you, like, approach the potion with your cup, they're like, no, you haven't drunk any, so you still have to drink this much. It, like, starts refilling right away.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that potion that you just dumped out just sort of zips back into the potion. You're back where you started.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that the only way to stop the potion from returning into the basin is to ingest it. That's the only way. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I sort of wish they had tried it, but also probably Dumbledore is thinking, there's no way Voldemort hasn't thought this through. I could try it, but I don't want to know what the consequences of that are. I'm just going to go with the most direct path. Yeah.
Well, that sentence where he's like, this can't be penetrated or vanished or parted or whatever, I feel like that was also a bit of Joe Rowling preempting our criticism. Because, like, after that scene, all the readers have been like, well, why didn't they do this, that, the other, or X, Y, or Z? Kind of the way I do with the sword in the lake, which I will forever harp on about. And I feel like this was Joe just being like, guys, like you can't, this is how it has to be done. Just, nope, because I said so.
And trust him, it's Dumbledore saying it to you. It's not just some rando.
Right, exactly. Like, what are you going to do? You think you know magic better than Dumbledore? Come on.
The other thing that I think they could have tried is to aguamenti directly into his mouth instead of into the little shell or whatever scoop thing. But surely that also wouldn't have worked.
Yes, correct on all counts.
Yes, okay.
Because, so let's talk about the effects of the potion. So the first effect is it, like, severely dehydrates the drinker. So he has to drink the water in the cave, and is, then killed by the Inferi or falls asleep from the living death or whatever it is. And part of the dehydrating thing is it makes all the water except the water in the cave disappear when the drinker tries ingesting it. So, like, yes, I suppose you could, like, stick your wand down Dumbledore's throat and then cast aguamenti, but, like, practically, like, water disappears when you try to drink it.
Come on, Harry. Harry's not a Ravenclaw either.
I really, honestly, if there were Ravenclaws here, this scene would play out so differently. And, like, this part of the potion is so creative and so sadistic. Like, it's so very Voldemort. Because, like, there are other ways you could do this. I think on episode 64, Sophia was like, well, why not just, like, put the living death in the basin and like, call it a day? Why the multi-step process? And it's like, Voldemort is being a messy drama queen here. And so the whole, like, dehydration aspect of it, it's very on brand.
It kind of reminds me a bit of rabies.
Oh, I know very little about rabies, so do tell.
So, I mean, with rabies, I'm also not an expert in rabies, obviously, but I think you kind of, you are very confused, like, when the symptoms are, like, fully there, and could lose consciousness after a while, but, like, you're very confused and have, like, uncontrollable movement, but the thing that really kind of put me on rabies is that you have a fear of water. So if you try to bring water to someone with, like, rabies fully, like, in the last stage of rabies, they will not drink it. It will just, like, they will twitch away, and that very much reminds me of the way Voldemort.
That is so strange.
Yeah, it's very strange. But that's how rabies work. Rabies are really, really, really horrifying. So it fits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
I suppose this does make you thirsty, but instead of making you afraid of water, but it's the manipulation of your relationship with water, and this being such a fundamental human need, and it doesn't allow any water in the area. I mean, yeah, it's hard to think of a worse fate. There's a reason that this sort of thing, whether it's something where you can't look at water, you can't be with water, or you need water but you can't find any water, or simply drowning, that these are all some of the worst experiences we can kind of imagine for a human to go through.
Yeah. So that's a horrible part of the potion, and that's not even the most horrible part of the potion. So the second effect of the potion is that the drinker, like, sees something horrible, like, perceives something horrible. And here is where the theories run wild. So there are 3 theories on offer. And I will run down each of them. So first of all, Harry has a theory that he offers up in Deathly Hallows. When he's talking to Aberforth, he says, "He thought he was back there with you and Grindelwald. I know he did," said Harry, remembering Dumbledore whimpering, pleading. "He thought that he was watching Grindelwald hurting you and Ariana." It's a theory. It's not one that I think is particularly elegant or correct, just because we don't know that Grindelwald was torturing Ariana or anything like that. Like, I think we know that Grindelwald used the Cruciatus on Aberforth, but I don't think there was an extended torture scene or anything. And yeah, I think Harry's very much just making this up out of whole cloth because, you know, there's lots of things that it could be.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what Dumbledore specifically says. He says, "I don't want, don't make me, don't like, want to stop." And then he says, I don't want to, let me go. And those seem like he's a little bit more lucid, like he's there and he's just having, you know, he's resisting the potion. He hates the potion. He doesn't want to keep doing it. It's making him not want to drink it. Mm-hmm. And then he says, make it stop. No, I can't, don't make me, I don't want to. I think that is a good point. Like, it doesn't seem like in the scene with Grindelwald, he would be saying, don't make me, unless Grindelwald's trying to make him torture his siblings. Like, I'm not sure.
Like,
and
especially
then,
the line after that.
Right. Eventually he says, it's all my fault, please make it stop. I know I did wrong. Please make it stop and I'll never again. And that maybe he is reliving something. He's reliving that, or he's just looking back at his whole life. I don't know.
Maybe it's like, don't make me watch.
Yeah, like, I don't think that works for the Grindelwald scene sort of as we've been told it happened.
Mm-hmm. Right. It could be don't make me watch, or I don't want to.
Yeah, but also, like, how would it be like, it's all my fault, like, Grindelwald, please stop? The two together don't add up.
To me, that's the line that does sound like it more. It's his fault. Of course, he blames himself for everything that happened with Grindelwald, for teaching Grindelwald about, you know, or participating in the greater good discussion, and for, you know, encouraging Grindelwald.
Right, but if he's pleading with Grindelwald, why would he be saying it's all my fault?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Harry may not be quite as good at literary analysis as we are. Just saying.
Or he just found the perfect thing to say to Aberforth, because honestly, that probably helped his case.
Or that. Like, a lot is made of Harry's ability to sort of wheedle and convince people as the series ends. So, touche. We don't actually know if Harry believed what he was saying. The Lexicon offers up a theory in their page on this potion that basically this is a very slow-acting poison that Voldemort made from hemlock and cowbane. Which is based on the colors at work and so on, which, according to some apocrypha somewhere, is similar to the ingredients for doxycyde. So the Lexicon says that this might just be like a pesticide for humans, and that it's just a slow-acting poison that makes you suffer. Which, like, could be a thing.
Well, somehow it's doing something psychological.
Yeah.
It can't just be a poison.
So the theory that I adore ever since I came across it, and this comes from a LiveJournal user called Felicity's Mind back in 2006. So she writes, I contend that Dumbledore was reliving the torture of the children while drinking the potion, and was speaking as the children had spoken to Tom Riddle, who was probably punishing them for something. In one place, Dumbledore was even described as drinking, quote, like a child dying of thirst, which is a curious thing for Rowling to have written. Would we have been less sympathetic if Dumbledore had been described as drinking like a man dying of thirst? No. So the reference to a child is a deliberate clue that Dumbledore was reliving the torture of Amy Benson and Dennis Bishop in that cave.
Whoa.
I know!
I really like this because I think that would be very like Voldemort to kind of put all of this together, because it is the cave where he brought those children and they were never the same afterwards, and it's unclear what actually happened in that cave, and for him to then put kind of, okay, you're going to relive this thing into the whole setup of this trap. I think that actually works very well in character for Voldemort.
Right? Like, it's so good because it fits the pattern. I think, Ev, you might have said it earlier, or someone did, where, like, especially Voldemort with the Horcruxes, especially with the earlier Horcruxes, like, the hiding places and everything are chosen to showcase, like, his brilliance and his personal history and, you know, things that are significant in his own very oh-so-special life. And he always leaves enough evidence to establish whatever he did in the places where he hides it. You know, you think about the Gaunt Shack, which is where he killed his family and framed Morphin Gaunt. You think about the diary, which is showing that, you know, he's the heir of Slytherin and he opened the chamber and sicked the basilisk on people. I think this just so elegantly fits that it is in the cave where he really, like, you know, discovered his magic and how he could use it to hurt and control people. And that even as a 10-year-old, he, like, performed such impressive magic to hurt Dennis Bishop and Amy Benson. Oh, it's such a good theory. Just, like, when I read it, I, like, stood up and applauded.
I actually think, more specifically, because I'm looking back at the lines, you know, what Dumbledore says, and it says that don't make me, right? He says, make it stop. So it kind of sounds at first like he is the one being tortured, but then he says, it's all my fault. Don't hurt them, please. And is this like somehow Voldemort is creating an image in his mind, in Dumbledore's mind, or whoever drinks it, that they're the ones responsible for the torture of these children, that it's not Voldemort doing it, it's them themselves, that they are in Voldemort's place. I guess that's sort of what you're getting at, right? That it's like, they're not reliving what Amy and Dennis went through. It was reliving not only the witnessing of it, but also the feeling that you are the one responsible for it. And it's interesting because Voldemort, you would think, would have no feeling of guilt related to this. So how is he able to transfer that into the person who drinks it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it might jump around, honestly. Like, you might start, like, reliving it from Dennis and Amy's point of view, and then sort of jump out to observer or perpetrator, like, towards the end when you're like, wait, oh shit, like, what I just experienced, like, that's what happened to them, and I did this? Like, you might be counting on the drinker's feelings of, like, you know, guilt and horror rather than Voldemort's in that scene.
I think that fits. And I also am seeing lots of clues for him being a child or feeling like a child, and beyond that line of the child dying of thirst, because he's also screaming, which is very uncharacteristic of Dumbledore. He is hammering his fists on the ground, which makes me think of like a toddler going like, eh.
Yeah.
You know, it's very childlike, and also referring to Dumbledore being obedient, right? So he you know, is saying, no, I won't. And then someone gives him a command and then he just drinks obediently. That kind of makes me think of a child as well. Like, throughout the scene, it's really, it evokes that idea that he is back in a child's body, totally has lost control of himself, his emotions. He's in the middle of a terrible trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's being made kind of to perform a role in the whatever the show Voldemort is, basically showing him within his own head, which actually reminds me, there is an excellent episode in Star Trek The Next Generation called The Inner Light, where Captain Picard gets sort of hit by this unknown alien probe, and then in his head he's basically he thinks he is living on this planet, and basically he has this whole life, and he watches his family and community die because the planet gets destroyed. And then he just kind of pops back into the real world, and none of that was actually real. But obviously the suffering was real. So, and it's kind of, this reminded me of what's happening to Dumbledore. He's clearly been put into this situation. So I wonder, because I've heard other theories about this where people would say, oh, it will just like it would show you kind of like an inverse mirror of Erised, like the worst possible thing for you.
Kind of like a Dementor.
Yeah, but I think I like what we've been talking about better, that it's the children in the cave and Dumbledore is playing some kind of role there, and he's just so in it. He completely is unaware that he's actually in the cave, and this is just happening in his head.
Yes. Yeah. Listeners, read like Felicity's entire article because, you know, she lays out plenty of evidence there. But yeah, like this is just one of those theories that is just like incredible in its elegance.
I love it.
And watch Inner Light. It's a great Star Trek episode.
Yeah, I believe it. I think there's too much Star Trek for me to dive in at this point. I'm just like, that's, yeah, too much.
The Next Generation, that's what it's at.
Yeah. And then there is a possible third effect of the potion. So we have the dehydration, we have the seeing horrible things. There's a possible third effect, and this gets into a bit of fandom lore and theorizing from ye olden days, called the stoppered death theory. So bear with me. Pre-Deathly Hallows, right around 2006, Harry Potter fans had figured out that basically Snape had, quote, stoppered death for Dumbledore post the Ring Crux curse. Tying back into Snape's initial monologue in Sorcerer's Stone, I can teach you to bottle fame, brew glory, and even stopper death. Hence the name.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the theory went that basically this potion, when Dumbledore drank it, removed the stopper that Snape had placed on the curse and sent Dumbledore onto the path to dying from the ring's curse rather than causing him to die from the potion itself. Hence the stoppered death theory. Most of this stuff isn't available online anymore. Believe me, I've researched. The original theory, I think, was offered by Kathy Leisner, and then it was built on by a whole bunch of fans, including John Granger, and including Felicity's Mind, the live journal user from the last theory. So Felicity's live journal is still up. So that's the best source I can find. I'll include that in our recommended reading. But yes, this was a very popular and sort of very well-respected theory from back in the day. And, like, looking back on it years later, I was like, they figured it out. Like, holy shit. Like, fans, like, well and truly figured out, like, the Ring's curse, that Dumbledore was dying. Like, it was pretty much all there. So, that's the theory, that basically this potion reactivated the Ring's curse that sent Dumbledore onto his way to dying, which is why Dumbledore is so very out of it. And again, it's hard to know sort of what is going on, just because Dumbledore has so much working against him. He has the curse, which may or may not... So Snape's stopper in the curse either is expiring at this point, because Snape is just like, you have a year, and it's been a year, or the stopper was just removed and the curse reactivated, plus the potion in the cave, plus whatever he drank from the lake. So, yeah, it's also it's impressive that Dumbledore is, you know, standing upright at all after all of this.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's possible, but given that it's already been virtually a year since Snape put on the counter curse, I don't know how much it matters in terms of the plot. We can already, even if there was no effect from the potion onto the counter curse, Snape's counter curse, like we can still completely imagine that, you know, the ring would have been weakening him a lot already at this point when it's coupled with the other things.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's possible, yeah.
So I feel like one of Joe's sort of signatures is that, like, a lot of complicated things all collide. And you're sort of never quite sure, like, what aspect of magic actually carried the day. Sort of like you think about, you know, Harry and Voldemort at the end of Deathly Hallows, and it's like, wait, what exactly caused what to happen? And they're like, they ventured into realms of magic hitherto unknown and untested. and it's a similar with the Fantastic Beasts movies, where like Jacob manages to keep his memory, when everyone else loses theirs in the first movie. And it's like, well, is it the venom? Is it that it was a happy memory? Is it like, which of the like 5 things going on is it? Mm-hmm. So I feel like this very much would tie in with that. And I thought it would be an interesting sort of thought exercise, which is if this theory is correct, and the potion did sort of unstopper Snape's cure, how would that work? What is the science behind this magic? Like, I think it would obviously need to be a generalized effect rather than like a really like uber specific narrow, like, well, if you've been cursed by a curse and you've been cured or kind of cured by Snape for a year, then this happens. It would need to be more generalized. Yeah.
It is his Horcrux, but yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if this works as like a mini Thief's Downfall or like a Finite Incantatum. And it just sort of like removes any magical effects that are currently on the drinker. I think that would make sense for Voldemort's aims, right? Because if a person comes in, makes it through the cave and starts drinking the potion, like, you don't want whatever antidotes or spells or potions or whatever they've taken to be in effect and possibly stymie Voldemort's clever little plan with the potion and the cave and the zombies. So I think it would be a very clever thing if Voldemort baked into this potion, which is a very complex potion, that like it also washes away whatever other potions you've taken.
Maybe just healing potions or spells, because that otherwise you have the Draught of Living Death and you could just drink that and then drink the other potion and it would just disappear again, I think. So I can imagine that it's like a anti-healing Thieves' Downfall.
Maybe.
I could see that.
I would be inclined to say that it's a little bit too powerful for a potion to do this as well as the other things. The Thief's Downfall, Finite Incantatum, they do one thing. They do it very well, but they do one thing. And I think that, generally speaking, our potions and spells are similar. They're not multi-step, effect sort of things. They do one thing and they do it well. I mean, I think it would be one thing if we saw a lot of evidence that this is what happens, but I don't think that it probably does. I mean, of course, you're right. It would fit very well with Voldemort's aims, but it's probably a little bit beyond what any given potion, even a powerful one, I think would be capable of doing. And even on that note, I'm not even convinced that it is dehydrating the air around them. I think maybe that is a separate spell that Voldemort has put on the cave, that at no point can anyone conjure water. Of course, the potion is dehydrating him. That's an effect of the potion. But as far as the water, like usually a potion can't really have an effect on its external surroundings. It's only when it's ingested, right? So I think by those two virtues, like, it seems to have a lot of effects, but actually it's kind of a network of things that Voldemort is doing with this potion and the water in the lake and whatever other spells. I mean, we know he's put a variety of spells on that cave, for the entrance to the cave and for the conjuring the boat. And, he has tried to create this trap, and he would surely do that by making it impossible to draw water anywhere in the cave. And I could see him doing that. Anyway, so I would say as far as that's a
very good point. You're right that the potion that we don't generally see potions do multiple things. Although like Felix, you could argue, has like a couple very related abilities. So I feel like I could see it either way. I think that this potion is like right on the cusp of what we like see as like incredibly powerful but a thing versus like way too powerful and not a thing. And like, personally, I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the most powerful, like, potions, one of the most powerful bits of magic we encounter, because I think to protect his Horcrux, Voldemort would sort of go, like, Omega-level potions, just, like, kitchen sink, really add anything and everything in. And, like, we know that potions, like, broadly speaking, can have incredibly powerful effects, despite, even though you're correct that it's usually just one very powerful effect. So yeah, I feel like I'm I could go either way on whether this could work within the world or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does have 3 effects, then I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, or a rabies hole, because if it does have 3 effects, the parallels are really, really there. I feel like I think the author was inspired by rabies, because the first effect, we talked about that, they are hydrophobic, and then the second effect, the drinker sees something horrible. With rabies, it's not just delusions, it's actually anxiety, confusion, agitation, abnormal behavior, paranoia, terror, and hallucination, which seems on point, very much so. And then the third effect, death, or the downfall of stop at death. I mean, rabies, you're dead. I think they're like a handful, I don't know how many, but like a handful of cases of people that survived after showing symptoms. Everyone else just, like, if you show symptoms of rabies, that is a death sentence, and a very horrible death. And I think it fits very well, as horrible as it sounds. And I'm going to read more about rabies. That's going to be my bedtime story for today.
Wonderful. No, I think that fits incredibly well.
I agree.
I think it could just be that the potion causes you to die rather than, and even Dumbledore says that's what he suspects, that it's going to kill him, but it wants to give him enough time to find out what he has discovered and everything. But just it's the lifting of the spells that I don't totally buy. But yes, absolutely. I think the parallels, like you said, are incredible, very specific, and kind of equally horrifying. Like something that's a little bit hard to comprehend even. It takes you out of your body and out of your mind and out of your needs and everything. Yeah.
I'll also say that we don't know necessarily that it's lifting like all spells. First of all, we don't know what Snape did to stop the curse. It could have been a potion. You know, Snape
probably
is very good at potions. And also it could be anti-dark magic, and that this potion removes anti-dark magic spells, or it just negates whatever potions you've drank. It isn't necessarily it removes any and all magic you've taken, but I think there could be a narrow tailoring that would still impact this.
You're right. We could spend an entire episode, I'm sure, on this potion. It is fascinating.
Honestly, this is one of those things where I feel like if I got to sit down with Joe Rowling, or if I could request a Pottermore article, I'd be tell us about this potion. I was I want to know exactly the what, the how, the who, the when, the where.
We don't even know what it's made of. We don't know a thing about what it's made of.
We don't even know the name. I was
right.
Just give us a name. At least give us a name. That is my one request. Give us a name for the cave potion. Because it does so much, we don't even know what to call it. Baby Mort potion, resurrection potion are kind of, there for you. But it's the potion that does all of the things in the cave, even though we're not quite sure what any of it is. Okay, so that was our very thorough discussion on the potion in Voldemort's cave, which, who knew? Maybe that should have gotten its own episode. And now we can go into all of the other potions in the series, which will hopefully take less than 40 minutes apiece. So the next potion on our list of potions is the shrinking solution. So I have so many questions about this potion. It makes so little sense to me. So this is the potion that we see in, I believe, Goblet of Fire. The one where Snape uses it to bully Neville. And he gives Trevor a couple drops, and it turns Trevor from a toad into a tadpole. Which is not shrinking.
No, it's really
called
isn't.
A shrinking solution, and that is not how shrinking works.
It should turn it into the tiny toad, not into a tadpole.
Yes. So I'm is the name a misnomer? Is it a de-aging potion? The opposite of the aging potion we see, it makes you younger. Or does it impact toads differently from humans? Or just, So someone make it make sense.
Well, we know that some potions have limitations on how they operate. Like, for example, polyjuice is no good for animals. It works slightly, but not very well. So I wonder if the shrinking solution has something similar, that it does shrink things as in the sense of making them smaller, but only certain type of things. And for some reason, toads are exempt from that, but we certainly don't really have much evidence for that or any more detail, really.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we have to assume that the way it affects a toad is the way it would affect anything else, which, I think is okay. It is a little bit strange.
No, it's not okay.
No, hold on. Wait. Okay, first of all, I was thinking about the fact we were talking about an aging potion in the last episode, and whether there would be a counterpart to it, which, could be called a de-aging potion, but it could be called a shrinking potion. And then maybe, yes, it is a misnomer, and it kind of could work if, like an aging potion, at least this was one of our theories, that it's something that only takes effect for a couple hours at a time or whatever, and then you just go back to whatever your age was at the time, your actual base age, right? It doesn't actually fundamentally change your age. It just sort of like creates a little disguise for a little while. So that's possible. I kind of like the idea too that when you shrink something, you don't just change the size, and that magically somehow the idea of shrinking, like, I don't know, that it's not, that magic doesn't really allow you to have like a super tiny human or a super, like, that some things have to change when you change the size of something. And maybe that would be the case for almost anything, even things that aren't animals, right? That you couldn't just have a super large hamburger, but you would have to somehow, change something about it. It would start to fall apart or would start to explode, or I don't know, like that magic has like an inherent recognition of the way that things are and that they should be. I don't know.
Counterpoint, Engorgio.
Right, that's true. The spider just gets bigger.
Yeah. Also, I did misspeak. This is Prisoner of Azkaban, because the bullying is what leads to Snape's Boggart. I just remembered. Well, and the other thing is that there's an antidote for it. Snape, pulls a small bottle from the pocket of his robes and pours a few drops on top of Trevor. Mm-hmm. And Trevor reappears fully grown. So was that a version of aging potion or swelling solution or just...
Well, it can't be swelling solution because then it would be a swollen tadpole, and it wasn't.
Right. So it's not that.
I think it probably is an aging potion, and it should just be called a de-aging potion or a, what is even the word for de-aging? Youngifying? There isn't a word. They just call it shrinking. Maybe that's what it is.
But something being shrunk has uses, so it would be useful to have something that could shrink an object.
Yeah.
Temporarily or permanently. I mean, de-aging, I think maybe it's a weird interaction between a solution that is intended to be like kind of, you're supposed to sort of get like a pipette and put a drop of that on an object that isn't animate, and it would shrink. Maybe it's not meant for alive things, and that's why it becomes de-aging, or maybe it just has two uses, so it de-ages an alive thing and it shrinks an inanimate object or something like that.
I like, the thing that perplexes me is that it does what it's meant to do. Right? So if we were like, oh, well, it's not meant for animal use, but like very clearly like Snape has an intended use in mind, and like this is the thing it's supposed to do. It does what it's supposed to do. So, like, yeah, this isn't like a weird edge case of its use. I just...
Well, Snape is not surprised, so he could...
Yeah.
Because he knows how it's supposed to work. So, at least on toads, he was expecting it to work this way.
Right. Well, there's a possibility, unless he specifically says something at the beginning of class, but what if Hermione, manages to guide Neville not to the thing that they were supposed to do. Maybe it wasn't possible, it wasn't salvageable, but somehow she's able to like manipulate it into doing something else to Trevor that, keeps him okay, and that they would have been able to. I'm stretching here. I'm really
no, because Snape says if he managed to produce a shrinking solution, it will shrink to a tadpole.
He says that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just
This is a tough one. Yes. Well, and also like there are plenty of uses for like a human to shrink. Like, I mean, plenty of unsavory uses, but I'm thinking like Osmosis Jones, like, you can shrink down to like, for medical purposes, or to get into keyholes or like.
You could do an Alice in Wonderland thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there are plenty of uses for a shrinking solution, like that actually shrinks. And the other thing is that, so Harry's homework on summer break, like before this scene, is shrinking potions. So like they are discussing shrinking potions, which I assume actually shrinks things. So like maybe this is like a weird shrinking potion, like within the subset. And this one like de-ages as opposed to a standard shrinking potion that just shrinks.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really kind of grasping at straws.
Do we think that this third year class is being taught a potion that's capable of shrinking humans? I don't know, that feels advanced, but maybe it isn't.
It seems dangerous because somebody might accidentally spill a drop on themselves or on their partner and they would then become tiny.
Yeah, so we know Hogwarts is excellent at, making sure things are always safe.
Yeah, that's true. And also, since Snape has a bottle of antidote, he probably wouldn't care. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I take that back. They won't care about that.
Yeah. Especially because the antidote can be applied externally. So, like, as long as you can, figure out where they are, you can fix them.
Yes. Also, Snape is threatening, to poison. What he's really hoping is going to happen is that Trevor's just going to be poisoned, and he is definitely okay with that. So we know that they're not really opposed to things, bad things happening. He's planning to do it intentionally.
God, he's just the worst.
He's just the worst.
I think what he would really love to happen if he can just make sure that some kind of a potions issue happens and all of your students disappear, but he can't be blamed for it. He'd be like, yeah, they're gone. Oh, well, what a pity. Never mind.
I know. I'm honestly surprised being like, oh, if y'all think Neville's so great, how about all the Gryffindors take his potion and see what happens? Oh, would you look at that? We're down 10 Gryffindors.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, he does know how to toe the line, Snape, to not do anything that, is going to get him, immediately kicked out, but I don't even see how entirely. I guess he doesn't kill any students. At least we can say that for him. It's such a low bar.
Yeah, that's really the only bar that he clears, is everyone is alive. I
mean, at some point he does. I think in Goblet of Fire, it's the class that Harry manages to escape, or that the class doesn't have to take because of, the Beauxbaton Durmstrang students arriving, I think. But he is specifically telling the students that he's planning to poison them and and for them to have to come up with an antidote, something to that effect, right? That is his plan.
Yes.
And Harry is like, phew, Snape isn't going to poison me today, as if it's a normal thing, like a normal everyday thing. I mean... Oh,
yeah, be like, and then on Fridays is the class where one of us gets poisoned.
Right. Yeah.
But they've all been to their first class where, they know that Bezoar can help with pretty much any poison. So they know which bit of the cupboard that Bezoars are in, and they're like, yeah, that's fine.
I guess so. How many students other than Hermione probably know or remember any of this? Because Harry certainly doesn't.
That's why you should take notes, children. Take notes. Take good notes.
Yeah, that's probably a feature of Snape's where he's like, yeah, let all the students talk, that if you forget what I said in the very first class, then 4 years later you're going to end up poisoned. I feel like he would want that to get around.
I mean, that could be an effective teaching method if it really, if he stuck to it and he's like, everything I tell you is very important. And if you forget any of this, there's a possibility something bad will happen to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something kind of interesting about this scene as it pertains to potions in general, because in this series of podcast episodes, we're talking about how potions work. And I always find it so interesting when I read this scene that halfway through the class, Neville's potion is orange, right? It's supposed to be green, I think. And he's obviously done a bunch of things wrong. He's and Hermione hasn't necessarily been watching him. And yet she's able to undo whatever things he's done and bring the potion to exactly the place it's supposed to be at. And I think that's something that's supposed to be quite difficult. You need to do a lot of studying. That's part of what these classes are about, is to understand just how delicate potions are and how hard it is to get wrong. I mean, how easy it is to get something wrong. So I find it either extremely impressive that Hermione figures this out, but also just kind of interesting about that quality of potions, that things can be undone if you make a mistake, which sometimes doesn't seem to be true. At least for very complicated potions, it seems like that's certainly not true. And maybe that says something about the shrinking solution being a simpler one, that it's possible to, take a potion that looks like it's been completely messed up and get it to a point where it's done perfectly.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. I think that says a lot about the level of complexity more than anything.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that, like, beginning of year 3, they're still doing the potions where it's like sort of, A plus B plus C equals D. And so then you can, like, negate A, and then, if you put in F, then you can negate F, and you will be back to wherever it is. I feel like, you couldn't really do this with, like, a draft of Living Death, or Felix Felicis or anything like that. If we make a mathematical analogy, because, like, that's where I live, like, I think they're still in, like, the, addition phase, or maybe the multiplication phase, where it's like, it's like 2 plus 3 plus 4. So if you, like, add 5, then you can subtract 5, and it's fine. As opposed to once you have, like, exponents and logarithms and everything, then it's like, oh, wait, if we want to, like, get back to where we're going, there's going to be some order of operations going on.
Yes, I think that's a good point, and it does say something about the way that it's termed, right? That it's a solution instead of a potion. It's the shrinking solution. I know it seems like the effects are somewhat complicated, and they do seem quite complicated. I mean, it's almost a manipulation of time, which we know to be one of the most dangerous things in the Department of Mysteries. But it can't be a particularly complicated potion, and therefore it can't be a particularly complicated effect. It must be a disguise of some kind, I think, more than anything. Presumably Trevor would have popped back up into being a regular-sized toad at some point, even if Snape hadn't aged it back, I wonder.
If nobody stepped on him in the meantime.
Yes.
I think it's also worth pointing out that they're probably using much simpler ingredients, which, like, we know some of the ingredients, which are daisy roots, sliced caterpillars, a dash of leech juice, 1 rat spleen. Like, I feel like none of these are, particularly fancy ingredients. It's not like powdered horn of a bicorn or whatever it was.
Yeah, they don't want to waste expensive, fancy ingredients on kind of early stages still.
Yeah, and we know it can be done in the course of a single potions lesson. And I think it must also mean aging potion is not a very complicated one either. I mean, just the fact that Fred and George are kind of walking around with it, it can't be very expensive, in Goblet of Fire. And that it presumably isn't even illegal, to just carry it around and throw it at your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Fred and George are also, like, remarkably adept potioneers.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of what they make with their skiving snack boxes is potions. So, yeah. But, yes, your point stands. Yeah, I'm trying to think if we ever see anyone, like, fix a potion like this other than in this scene. And I think I'm coming up blank.
You know what else this reminds me of? It reminds me of, the Great British Bake Off. And when they see a bunch of, different cakes being being set out in a row in front of them, and they haven't watched people make them, but they can tell exactly what they did wrong. They're like, oh,
Yes.
this one was in the oven too long. And here there's not enough sugar, and that's why it's that color, and that's why it's fallen apart. It does kind of make me think that there's probably something like this with potions, that if you are skilled enough, you can look at it and go, oh, this is off color because your daisy roots are too chunky, or your rat spleen has gone off, or whatever. There's like something that you're probably able to tell, and as you guys been saying, occasionally even reverse if you catch it early enough, which maybe Hermione has some aptitude for it, clearly.
Do you think there's any quality other than, let's say, the color and the consistency and maybe the smell? Is there some kind of magical layer of being able to, I don't know, we see, Dumbledore and Snape kind of waving their wand over potions, or maybe not potions, but, in magical contexts, and they're muttering and they're just sort of listening.
I would say yes, because I think that I don't think it's ever exactly laid out, but I think it's implied that there's a way to kind of basically run magical diagnostics, which is kind of what...
Oh, wait. There is. In the Half-Blood Prince lesson on Galpalot's third law, Slughorn says that assuming we have achieved correct identification of the potion's ingredients by Scarpin's Revella spell.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that. I was going to bring up the time when Dumbledore and Harry are in the cave, and he's clearly, trying to determine what it is that Voldemort did via magic, rather than just via, guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, so you could use magic and as well as your other senses and knowledge.
Yeah. Which is fascinating that,
Yeah. I want to study potions now. That sounds
Oh, me too. Yeah, that there's just, a spell to, tell you what's in it. I wonder how that works in terms of, coming up with potions recipes and all of that. Well, maybe it doesn't tell you what to do with the ingredients, right? Or what order to add them in. It's just this spell says that there are daisy roots in this potion, but you don't know when they were added, what was done to them, how they were chopped or whatever.
I think it might even be, instead of it being a one-to-one thing, you use this spell and it tells you if it has this, use this, it tells you if you have that. I think just from the fact that it's something that, in my mind, someone like Snape or Dumbledore would be very good at, or, maybe Slughorn, but not a lot of other people, that it requires a little bit more of an understanding of, okay, you do a spell and there's some kind of a sense you get in the air, and it tells you what kinds of ingredients it could be. Kind of I don't know if you know IR or NMR spectroscopy. Does anyone know what that is? It's
yeah,
very
but not
barely.
in detail.
Right. The idea is that you can tell what chemicals are in something or what molecules are in something because there are spikes at certain
wavelengths of light, right?
Yeah, exactly, wavelengths. And it's not it's saying to you, for sure it must be this, but you look at the pattern of the waves and it tells you, well, probably given that these two molecules go together and these two don't go together, that it's got to be this combination of things. It's something a little bit more elevated than just, a direct answer. And I think that's probably part of what maybe you only get to in the newt level, but that if you want to be a really expert potioneer, how you can advance and get to the point where you're capable of not only learning how to make potions, but also how to unmake potions, or how to create your own potions.
Yeah, and as with anything else, I mean, you have, as you are learning, you are developing kind of your knowledge and consequently your intuition as time goes on as well.
Yes. Oh, and what if that's what arithmancy is? Kind of one of the applications of arithmancy. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, do we think Snape is just, always using this to, figure out what the hell his students did and where it went wrong? Or do we think he just, knows potions so inside and out that he can, even know what students did wrong, just based on the attributes?
I think he just knows because he's likely teaching the exact same potions in the same order every year because he doesn't like teaching enough to bother to kind of mix it up a bit. So yeah, I would say he's just seen it all in terms of what students can do wrong with those potions.
Listen, there are a lot of permutations you could make with some of these potions. Like they don't seem like, 3-4 step things. So just numerically, I'd be shocked if he's literally seen it all.
Right. Well,
apparently, I believe in Snape more than you do.
Yeah, apparently.
What else does that say? I mean, I think, there are probably certain things that are more common things to get wrong that he's seen before, and then other ones that he sort of has to deduce, and he starts with the most likely thing, and then he rules it out if he needs to, and he goes to the next thing. But it's a combination of intuition and then actual practice, you know, and checking.
I imagine the Revella spell is also crucial to, grading potions. Because, some of these, do you really want to, try all of the students' potions to make sure they did it right?
Do you think he cares?
Well, not even just Snape, but, in general. Slughorn or the OWL examiners, how are they going to know what kind of potion you made unless they're trying it or using Revella spell to figure out, what's in it? Maybe it's okay, we use the Revella spell to figure out what's in the potion, and then if we're okay, nothing is in here that will actually poison me, then you can do something else with that.
But presumably for something like shrinking solution, they could just test it at the end of the class. They just have, flour or a little box that they can make bigger and smaller with students' potions, and they see what happens.
Assuming it can be applied to inanimate objects, or even that it can be applied externally, because Trevor has to drink the potion. So, it may only be, applicable to living things that can ingest it.
I hope that they don't have test animals for, the student potions, just to test for their homework if they got the potion right or not. I wouldn't put it past Snape. I know he has all those
he
stuff,
would not care.
His jars, but
no.
Also, they could potentially just transfigure something inanimate into animate thing for the purpose of testing.
True. Yeah, maybe all the potions are tested on Desk Pig.
Yeah.
Well, okay, wait. Would the Desk Pig turn into a baby pig, or would it turn into a young sapling tree?
Oh, that's a question.
Oh my goodness.
Is that another poll? We need to do a poll.
Yes, it is. Yeah, listeners, tell us what happens to Desk Pig when you feed it shrinking solution.
Yeah, we're really venturing into transfiguration here, of course, but
we are.
All of these things are interrelated, and we have to ask the big questions.
Irvin, are we doing a transfiguration season at some point?
I personally am kind of obsessed with how much fun this potion series has been, so maybe.
Yeah, listeners, let us know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, just every year we're going to focus on a different magical discipline. We'll have a charms season, we'll have a herbology season.
And then at the very end, we will test everybody's knowledge and do an owl season. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, we're going to test you on the last 10 years of podcasts.
Yeah, it's really, we're going to have a quiz show. Yeah, join our Patreon so we can get the subscription to that thingy that let us have online quiz. And we will do that. Because those are fun. Those are really fun. But yeah, actually the next potion we're looking at is very related to the shrinking because it's swelling and deflating.
Sorry, there's one more point we had to get to.
Oh, is there one?
There
Sorry.
is, yeah.
What did we miss?
So, talk of the ingredients for the shrinking solution. We talked about a bunch of them, how they're simple, but one note is that among the sort of prosaic ingredients of daisy roots, caterpillars, only one rat spleen, not two, and a dash of leech juice is a skinned shrivel fig. And a shrivel fig is a purely magical ingredient. It's not a real plant. It's part of the year 2 herbology curriculum. Because there's some reference in Chamber of Secrets to Harry tipping Abyssinian shrivel figs into the compost or whatever. So yeah, even a potion as simple as the shrinking solution, which we've said it has to be fairly simple based on what is done to it, still has magical ingredients. And I thought that this was something sort of worth following, is how many of the potions explicitly use a magical ingredient versus just totally regular stuff. Because, like, I imagine that part of the magic of potions is the use of magical ingredients. Because, you know, any muggle could add daisy roots to sliced caterpillars, and I think if you fed it to a toad, it would have a very different effect.
I think the toad would love it. It would be a new diet.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The leech juice and the caterpillars, I think the toad would be into. Do toads eat rat spleens?
Probably not. That would probably do bad stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on whether they're omnivorous or not. I'm not entirely sure what they eat. Oh no, they eat insects and stuff.
Yeah, they are carnivorous.
Yeah, no, maybe they could. Yeah.
Yeah. Listeners, for extra credit, please, combine these ingredients and feed it to a toad, and let's see what happens.
We cannot take any responsibility for any harm that might come to any toads.
Yes, do not feed it to your beloved pet toads. Maybe like a random wild toad.
Yeah, and none of the endangered toads as well. So, yeah. It's all entirely on you, listeners. Sorry. I cannot take any responsibility.
So we go from shrinking solutions to what may theoretically be the opposite, which is a swelling solution. And so swelling solution makes body parts swell when splashed on them. As we, notably find out when Harry sends a firework into a pot of swelling solution in year 2. And, Draco ends up with, a nose the size of a melon?
Mm-hmm. Could be worse. Could be something else the size of a melon.
I mean, worse or better, depending who you ask.
Yeah.
Anyway, and yeah, like at first I thought maybe like this is what Snape puts on Trevor, but you're right that Trevor like ages up evenly as opposed to just swelling to a giant tadpole. So this is not the antidote to shrinking solution. So the interesting thing is that when we see swelling solution, it's applied externally. And so it just swells the body part that, the potion hits. So it's curious whether it's meant to be ingested. And so, like, maybe when you drink a swelling solution, you, like, evenly swell and grow in size versus, when it's applied to a body part, then only that body part swells. So, like, maybe it's meant to do what basically Harry does to Aunt Marge the following summer.
Interesting. I think so. This one feels like it makes sense. So it does feel a little bit different from like a growing or shrinking thing in that the proportions don't seem to stay the same. I think, even if, right, what happens to Aunt Marge, and I think we can assume happens if someone drinks a potion like this, it's not just that you become a giant version of yourself. It's like you kind of expand sort of outward. And and especially if it hits a certain part of your body, it causes that area to swell.
I mean, perhaps if you drink the swelling solution, then you do just become like bigger proportionally. Like you would become a giant.
But I think the term swelling, I mean, we've learned, of course, the shrinking solution that they're not always the best with names, but I do picture more of a swelling, and I think we do see that happen. So I think it could very well be, especially since the counterpart to the swelling solution, which I think isn't the shrinking solution, since Snape applies what's called the deflating draft, right? And I think the idea that you're supposed to have in your head of what happens to you, whether or not it's a specific part of your body or whether you ingest the whole thing, is that it's as if air is growing inside of you. And therefore, the air has to be punctured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kind of visual or physical kind of expansion, that's a little bit different from just a regular growth.
Yeah, it seems very uncomfortable.
I'm wondering if... So we know that the swelling solution is the year 2 curriculum. Whereas the shrinking solution is the year 3 curriculum. So I wonder if they consider that, like, the swelling solution just growing bigger, and I suppose smaller would be the same unit, is considered a much simpler thing than shrinking and de-aging, and sort of that's why shrinking solution is later on in the curriculum.
I don't know if the curriculum is that prescriptive necessarily. I think they have the list of things that they're going to be examined on once they get to the year 5, but I think before that it's really up to the teacher to teach them age appropriate stuff. So I probably wouldn't be inclined to attach too much weight for them being in slightly different years. It could have been that there was some kind of a particular thing about one of those potions that Snape wanted to do in one year over another, but I wouldn't necessarily think that it's specifically on the curriculum.
I suppose it also could be that, like, the curriculum is just based on the complexity of the brewing as opposed to the effects.
Yeah, that's true. Which
probably isn't like a linear, correlation where it's like, oh, well, like the more complex, the fancier the potion. Like I imagine that like there are some potions that like have very simple effects, but like are a bitch to brew. And, some things where it's like, wait, really? It's that easy to just make a potion that does X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, and something might be easy and do the job, but the more complicated version might be like more stable or might be more suitable for being used in certain circumstances. There could be, I think, all sorts of different reasons why the effect is simple, but the potion is complicated.
Yeah, like I guess I feel like we can extrapolate quite a bit from the potions curriculum, just because I feel like that's the curriculum we're most privy to. Where like we see the progression of like they get harder, they do get more complex, and like we are privy to a lot of potions lessons just because Snape bullying Harry is so relevant to the story arc. Because I feel like Transfiguration we don't hear that much about. We like hear what Harry's doing like week 1 of each year, and then it's like we never hear of that again. And Charms, it's mostly like, Harry's learning what's relevant to the plot this book. And obviously Defense is just a disaster because they have a different teacher each year. But yeah, I feel like the potions curriculum, we can extrapolate from. Or at least I'm going to try to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fair enough.
And I think Charms is closer to parallel with potions and how much we hear. But I agree, potions is the...
I mean, when we have our Charms unit next year, we will figure out what the progression there is.
One thing about the swelling solution I just wanted to highlight is the fact that it happens very instantaneously, which of course, a lot of the potions do, but just to understand a little bit more what distinguishes a simple potion from a complex one, even if it looks like the effects that they take are very... similar in that they're changing the appearance of something or they're changing the size of something or whatever. The distinction between, a swelling solution or a deflating draft or a shrinking solution compared to the polyjuice potion, which we know to be considered a very complex potion. Of course, part of it is that it was complex to brew, but we kind of can see in the way that the transformation happens that it looks much more complex. The fact that it's not this quick instantaneous thing, but you literally see every part of the body be painfully, shifted and wedged into place, and that there must be something a little bit more fundamental happening there, and that's part of what makes it harder to brew too, I'm sure. But also it makes the polyjuice potion a lot more, a lot harder and more intense than a transfiguration of someone's appearance. And so I think pretty much all the potions that Harry and the class, do in the first few years seems to be something that just like boom, it happens, and then you can undo it just like that as well. And what that says about what those potions are really doing to a person or an animal that is on the receiving end of it.
Yeah. Interesting. Like, I'm trying to think if we know of any, like, deliberately slow-acting potions. Because, like, I imagine there's definitely, like, a purpose and a market for potions where, like, you give it to someone and it, like, kicks in an hour later.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, we were hypothesizing that for the draft of Living Death, but we don't really know.
Yeah. The other thing that I find interesting about the swelling solution, and specifically, so its antidote is the deflating draft. So, like, their body parts swell, and Snape is just like, here, I will give you deflating draft, and that'll fix those swellings. But the deflating draft is drunken by the students to fix it. And so that's interesting because it's the reverse of the shrinking solution. The shrinking solution was drunk and the antidote was applied externally. Here, the initial potion was applied externally and the antidote was drunk. Do we think it's interchangeable? Like whether you drink a potion or apply it onto your skin? Because it doesn't seem like it should be interchangeable.
I would assume it depends on the potion because, like, in our world, we have medication that could be both ingested and applied externally, but there's usually,
really?
Active ingredients are the same. There usually be something else in the formulation that's different. Like you can have painkillers that you can take internally, and it would be exact same chemical that's being used in a cream that you can then put on your foot if you sprained your ankle or something. So that's what I'm saying. It might be depending on the type of potion and how it's made and what it's for. It could be possible that it might be used for both or just for one.
Yeah, and maybe some of these early potions as well, it's much more likely that you can just drop it on top of someone and it'll work. And the more complicated potions, you might have to drink.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what effect you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve an effect that would affect your whole body from within, then you would probably want to ingest it. But if you want something that has a very localized effect, then you could just maybe dab it on your, I don't know, engorgioed finger or whatever.
Right. So like, for example, if you wanted, your thumb to remain giant, but your other fingers to be normal size, you could, apply the deflating draft to those 4 fingers.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean.
Whereas drinking it makes the whole hand shrink back.
I mean, maybe with Trevor and the tadpole and the way that it's just dropped on top of him, I mean, if he's small enough, then it could just be that the couple of drops that he, drops on Trevor is so large that it's going to go into Trevor's system because he's going to swallow it. I don't know. I
mean, yeah, because tadpoles are tiny.
And actually, they take things in from the outside. Mm-hmm. They don't drink. They do drink. Actually, I don't know anything about tadpoles, but don't tadpoles. But they have gills, right? They actually absorb things from the side of their heads as well. So if the potion is coming in to Trevor through I don't know.
I know nothing about tadpoles.
Our tadpole knowledge is clearly lacking. We need somebody to help us.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, the deflating draft, so when they take it, it just removes the effects of the swelling solution. It doesn't, shrink anyone down or anything. So do we think that the deflating draft, is just meant as an antidote for swelling solution? Does it do anything on its own?
Do you mean, would it just deflate you?
Yeah.
In general? Kind of like another type of shrinking solution?
Yeah, exactly. If you're just a normal person and you're taking deflating drafts, it doesn't just, shrink you down? Or does it just not do anything if there's no swelling solution to counteract?
Well, I guess deflating implies that the air is being removed from something, as opposed to something is just getting smaller. So I can't imagine that would make you smaller, but it might kind of try to suck air out of the parts of you that maybe it should be there. I don't know, that sounds bad.
So deflating draft is just magical liposuction.
Sure, why not?
I was starting to think about it that way too, right? The swelling solution is injecting some kind of magical botox. I mean, what if the deflating draft was put on like a bicycle tire or something? Would it deflate that too?
Good question. I don't see why not.
I don't know that we know of potions working on inanimate objects. So, yeah, I don't know how that would go.
I guess that's a good question, right? Can we think of any examples where they do?
Like, I'm going through it in my head. I think we only ever see potions being either drunk or applied to living creatures.
Well, what about, I guess this sort of counts, though, as a living creature, but we'll talk about it in a little bit, but the Sleek Easy's hair potion is really just for your hair. I don't know whether you would count that as an animate object, but I guess it's organic.
Attached to an animate object.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's the cells that were once living as part of a living organism, so, like, edge case, but I think I'd still say animate.
Okay. I kind of like that, actually, that potions really only work on animate objects.
Right, like that like feels right somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they should work on other things too, but I can't think of anything where they did, so I'll just have to keep that in mind and say.
Yeah. Okay, but so you're saying that the deflating draft is just an antidote for like any and all swelling that may or may not have happened. So like we assume that's what was used on Aunt Marge then in year 3?
Maybe, although we know that, anything that is done by a spell is usually also counteracted by a spell. Anything done, not necessarily though, but I wonder if there is a spell charm of some sort counterpart to what Harry does to Aunt Marge.
So I agree that potions can usually only be undone by potions, but I don't know that spells can't be undone by potions. Like, I view potions as a sort of like stronger level of magic, so I feel like they should be able to counteract spells.
Yeah, I think they can be because, healers and Saint Mungos, I think they're using potions for all sorts of things, and including spell damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, that's true.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good grasp on the deflating draft then. So let's move on to the elixir of life. Ooh. Which admittedly we know very little about as a potion. We just know that the Sorcerer's Stone is used to make it. So the Sorcerer's Stone is not an ingredient. I don't think you just chuck the stone into the cauldron and then you're like, look, elixir of life.
Maybe you need to soak it and what?
Maybe that's true. You do just put the stone in the potion and it doesn't dissolve or anything, but it releases something.
Maybe. Well, yeah, we know that the way that they use that they phrase it is that it produces, the stone produces the elixir of life. So it could be that you have to do something to the stone, put it in water for it to produce it. But I mean, do we envision it actually coming out of the stone? It's a weird image, and it's squirting out some kind of potion. Constantly too, because it's drunk every however often, but obviously over and over and over again for centuries.
Yeah, I don't think that the stone could just make elixir of life from scratch. Just elixir gushes forth from it. I always understood that it is part of the process. But I'm trying to think if I have anything to back that up.
You might need to touch the stone to something you've already made.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Right, you make a potion with all, your various ingredients, and then the last touch is the stone, which makes it into elixir of life.
And I think they simplify it, because these are first years. Well, it's not that it's really information meant for them, but that they're just reading a very quick description of what the stone does more than anything, more descriptive or meant to instruct.
Yeah, because it also doesn't say that it creates elixir of life, which is I think the word I would use if it was just making it out of whole cloth. I think produces means part of the process. But yeah, so the thing about elixir of life is that it offers immortality as long as you keep drinking it, which is an interesting bent on immortality, and I think definitely the way I'd prefer immortality, because, you know, I grew up reading Tuck Everlasting, like most people of our generation, and so I was like, yeah, like, immortality where you can't ever die doesn't seem like a great idea. But, like, immortality where you can just, like, take it back whenever you want, that seems like a good deal.
Yeah, because you have control, so you can decide yourself when you've sort of had enough and you've done everything you wanted to do. Yeah, that seems really, really handy, actually.
Yeah, it's the elegant thing about how, you know, the whole story with Nicholas Flamel ends is that he doesn't just carry on living forever with no purpose. Mm-hmm. He kind of accepts the natural end, and, you know, Dumbledore uses that as a great teaching moment for Harry to understand that nothing is meant to be forever, but you can do things the right way.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm trying to think, I don't think there are a lot of literary analogs of, like, immortal as long as you want it. Like, can you guys think of any?
Well, the only thing that comes into my head right now is The Good Place, the TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because they've discussed that quite a bit, and I think that's what they end up with, that basically you have a choice eventually instead of just sort of living forever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I'm sure there is more literary examples that I can't think of right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that's the conclusion that they end up coming to, right? Any story that has just immortality never quite feels right, or, you know, there's always some kind of conflict or issue that comes up with it, where there's some dissatisfaction or depression or just pain from being forever immortal. And yeah, in The Good Place, that is the conclusion they come to as the right middle ground, where it's something people can, you know, tolerate and enjoy.
Yeah. So that kind of thing always actually annoyed me when maybe it's just me. The whole general premise that it's a bad thing and you would inevitably get bored and depressed. So yeah. I think.
Do you disagree?
Yes, potentially. I think it says more about the author's view on life than it says about what it could actually be like for an individual who is immortal. And I think the matter of your personal choice and free will and how you can or cannot organize your life is really what's going to determine of how happy or unhappy you're going to be. I think there's so many different things one can do that there is many lifetimes worth of time to fill. So I can see how eventually you would run out of things that you would want to do and people to meet and things to say. But it would take a long time.
Oh yeah,
I think it will take much longer than people presented in stories and media and stuff like that.
Well,
I definitely agree with that, right? That, like, you know, if you gave me 100 years, I could entertain myself for 100 years or 200 years. Like, I think this is, like, you know, on the time scale of, like, millennia. Like, 2,000 years, like, okay, I could see it getting a little old.
Yeah. You can also look at it slightly differently. And we are, from the point of view of people if in the past, are already kind of immortal, because if your, say, average life expectancy is, 30 years, somebody who is 85 years old is like, what are you doing with all that life? But at the same time, would you come up to, a 70-year-old person and say, I think you're done. I think you've done everything you're supposed to do. So shuffle off,
Yeah.
So if we say, imagine our science and technology improves to a degree that we can live good, healthy lives up into the age of, 100 or 150, at what point do you then tell people, okay, you've lived too long?
Yeah, then you get into some giver shit where like, all the 80-year-olds are like, sent out into the forest to die. And
yeah, so that's another thing that comes up a lot in various stories too.
Yeah. So I actually really want to recommend The Beyonders by Brandon Mull. It's a really, really good portal fantasy. So one of the societies that like the main character runs into is like this magical race where they only live like 2 years. Like that's their life expectancy. And obviously the main character is like, oh my God, but like you only live 2 years? And they're like, well, yeah, like we live a full life in 2 years. That's normal. Like we can't believe y'all stick around for 80 years. Like, God, like, that's forever. What
do you possibly want to do?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And then I don't remember if it was this book or another book, but then like they run across a society where like everyone lives like 300 years and they're like, oh man, you humans like kicking it at 85. Like, isn't that sad? So yes, the like correct lifespan is very much in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, we're barely out of school by the time we're 80. Like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we take so much of our purpose based on what we've grown up learning about and hearing about. But I do think that the commentary about someone getting tired or bored, after a certain amount of time, as much as it might seem like it sort of takes a dim view of what humans are capable of psychologically to handle and that they should be able to enjoy much more. I think it is somewwhat realistic that, at the very least, people mostly can't stand to live without, the people who they grew up with approximately. And, the idea of solitude, I think is a very realistic understanding of what, and I think that's the reason why, these groups, when they come across each other, they can't understand the other's perspective because they're so accustomed to, what they've grown up with and what just makes sense to them as a result of that. But I do think that after a certain amount of time, because humans are so based around purpose, not necessarily around maximizing experiences forever, but they're very built around purpose and habit, that, it would be a struggle in almost every instance. And it's really based on what they understood their purpose to be, or whether they can build a purpose for themselves going into. So I think it's a great, question to ask yourself. And like, I think almost everyone thinks, oh yes, I could live a very, very long time and be, interested, because that feels right. That like we all want more life, but they would actually take a little bit planning and, introspection and an ability to prepare yourself to actually be able to handle so much life in so much time.
So do you guys think that the whole question would look very different if everyone was immortal? Because like you mentioned the whole like, oh, you would grow old without like, all the people you grew up with and everything. But like in some ways we already encounter that, right? Because like, the people who are much older when we're young, will probably die before us. Like as we grow up, we lose our grandparents and then our parents, and we make new friends and we, have kids and we meet new people. So like, I don't know if it's the like, everyone ages without you thing. It is as big a factor just because like you can always form new bonds and get to know new people.
I think if everyone were immortal, it would be completely different. I do think so, because we would build our understanding of our life around the cycles of, things changing over the course of time, but, still be able to live in approximately the same way. I don't know.
Would we
Maybe.
Basically have elves like in Lord of the Rings? So they're functionally mortal in the sense of they can only, like, they can die if somebody literally kills them, but they won't just die from passage of time. So, and yes, as you're saying, I think, your life cycle is going to look different because, you don't have to cram it all in, with much shorter space of time. So you can take your time. You can have longer childhood and young adulthood, and much longer kind of I'm not sure what to call that part of life where you're done growing, but you're still kind of in your prime, and you know what you're doing, and you're doing your thing.
Well, and think like how different it would all be, like saving for retirement and all that. If you think
that's already pointless.
I mean, agreed. And which is why I don't. Because I was like, I'm a millennial in America. You think I'm going to get to retire? That's cute. But that illusion would be completely turned around if we lived forever.
Yeah, but we can also live at much slower pace if we wanted to then, because you have time. And yes, you want to earn money, and you can still earn money because you have more time to do that in. And you can, slowly reduce the number of hours that you work, and then just spend, 100 years working 3-day a week and another 100 years working 2-day a week. There's just so much more options. That was a strange noise.
Hi, Karolina.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hi.
So
That's
sorry.
a good noise. Brilliant.
It's a good noise.
Hear?
I'm so sorry. I don't I'm completely overworked. That's my excuse. I knew something would have to go wrong, and I would miss something. And I'm so sorry it was this.
Well, luckily, you've only missed a small chunk, because we're only an hour into our discussion, so you'll have so much more opportunity.
Okay, good.
Well, my next question was going to be, what would happen if the whole world had access to the elixir of life, and but there was a possibility of taking it from people or from hiding it or something like that. But if there was enough to go around,
well, then people would come back to life, meaning me. Because I missed the beginning of the podcast. So here I am now. I'm sorry, listeners. But I'm now here and I'm jumping into the discussion. But I will let everyone else speak first. I just wanted to say hi, so you're not wondering why I'm suddenly joining in.
Yeah. So I think if there was elixir of life to go around, it depends on if there's any scarcity, right? Because if there's theoretically enough food to go around in the world, but it's not distributed in a way where everyone gets enough. So if there was actual abundance of elixir of life, and sort of everyone had access to it, then I think it would basically be the good place where everyone just lives out whatever they want to live out. But short of that, which you'd need an awful lot of elixir, I think society would kind of break down.
Or there would be some small group that would just get their hands on it and then, ration it according to whatever rules they would create for it, or charge lots of money for it, or some sort of horrendous dystopian thing.
Well, I think it harkens back to Dumbledore's quote of as much life, right? Because that's what really the stone produces. Let's say it's not even the elixir of life that's available; it's the stone. So it's as much money and life as you could want. The funny thing is, humans have just the penchant, or whatever, however he says it exactly, for choosing the things that are worst for them. And of course, we would choose that, and we've already chosen money. But we found a way for everyone to have money and be able to keep some for themselves, and whether something like that could happen with the elixir of life as well. Let's say there were a lot, but not infinite. I don't know. If somehow we would organize a society that, the fighting is kind of getting old, and we better actually create a system for everyone to get some if they want to.
I mean, we already live in a society where theoretically no one has to be poor or starve. And that's going well so far. So I don't know why you're also hopeful. I think that a fair distribution, I don't know.
Oh, I doubt very much there'd be a fair distribution, but at least if there would be some, or how much it would be. If it would be kind of like money, or if it would be significantly worse.
Probably like money. You would have some people living forever and others trying to get their hands on the elixir to live a little longer.
Yeah. did you guys ever see the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried?
No, but I think I know what you're talking about.
So it's an Andrew Niccol sci-fi movie, which, like, he does great stuff. But the premise is that, like, everyone stops aging at 25. But then, like, the time you have left to live is the currency of the world. So, like, you know, you go to work to earn, like, you know, 30 hours of life. But you, like, spend 12 hours earning that. And then, like, a cup of coffee is, like, 3 minutes, but then it goes up to 4 minutes. And then Justin Timberlake's like, 4 minutes for a cup of coffee. And the guy's like, do you want to spend another minute arguing about it? And I was like, what a riveting premise.
That sounds so stressful.
I mean, yes, I would not want to live in that world. But yeah, basically, like, there are zones based on how much time you have. And so, like, the outer zone of the city is people living, like, paycheck to paycheck, quite literally living paycheck to paycheck, because your money runs out, you just die. And then in, like, the inner tiers, people are, like, you know, at a casino gambling with a century's worth of life. Because
they have so much.
Yeah. Wow. So I imagine it would be kind of like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I agree.
But then again, I just want to draw attention to the fact that that is because there are some people who are incapable of dealing with certain things and not an intrinsic property of an object who gives you an opportunity to have, you know, extra life or extra money. So there are many other things in the world where you can say, oh, they should never exist because some people use them improperly.
Yeah.
So because we organized our society around basically being governed by the worst people possible,
Mm-hmm.
that is not the reason that there are certain things that will never work. Because it's just the property of the things. I don't think it's a property of the things. It's just how things are currently set up, and they could be set up differently, potentially in the future.
This is a digression for another day, but I want to briefly say I think that is the definition of dark magic. Like, I always thought that dark magic was magic that, like, can have no, like, ethical use. Like, it is just bad, like, by definition. Mm-hmm. So, like, a killing curse, a torture curse, like, no, there's really no, like, great, like, use you can come up with that. Like, that is not a neutral tool in your arsenal. And that's what makes it dark. Whereas, like, the, you know, equivalent I always say is, like, Defendo. Like, you can use that to chop off someone's head and, like, really get the same result. But because it can be used for, like, helpful things like, you know, cutting paper or cutting the covers off books,
vegetables.
then it isn't dark magic. So I think, yes, under that system, and really in the books, like, the Elixir of Life and the Sorcerer's Stone isn't presented as dark magic because it can be used for good the way Nicholas Flamel uses it. Just it likely wouldn't be by most people.
Yeah, and the extra money thing has another dimension, that you can't have everybody using Philosopher's Stone to make extra money, because the whole economy, inflation thing, you can't just flood the market with all the extra money. So a small number of individuals could have extra money, and if they are not going nuts, they could really improve their day-to-day life by having this, like, extra source of income, basically. But you have to be really careful, and you can't go crazy with it, because it'll just destabilize things.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about economics about if it's something that could be changed. But as things are now, you can't just, like, throw lots of extra money in and hope for the best, because it'll just devalue the money. Yeah.
There was, like, a thing going around Twitter years ago where they were like, you know, there's like, you know, $45 trillion worth of gold on the moon. If we just got that, then everyone in America would be a billionaire. And it's like, that is not how money works. Like, we would all, yes, like, have $1 billion worth of gold, but, like, we would not live a billionaire's lifestyle with that.
No, and actually, I think historically speaking, that has happened. I don't remember the details of which exactly naval expedition it was that brought a whole bunch of extra gold back to Europe.
Oh, it was like ancient Egypt or something.
Yeah. And then turned out it wasn't so good because there was so much extra that it just sort of devalued things.
Yeah, and so that everyone just has a ton of gold, but like can't do anything with it because like just because you have like more like gold or money or whatever we've decided has it, you know, is an exchange of value, doesn't mean there's more food to be gotten. There are more apartments to buy. That, like, you know, there's still scarcity in the things you use money for, which is why that doesn't
because
work.
like money isn't real. Like we have as in the
yes. That's it. That's what I kept telling people last year when I didn't have a job, and they were like, "Irvin, you have $18 in your bank account right now." I was like, "But money's not real, so it's fine."
Well, I meant it's not real in the sense that it doesn't have an intrinsic value as an object. We've just given it the value and agreed upon it.
Yeah, it's not real.
I think it was Mansa Musa's Hajj in maybe the 1200s or something like that, where he just he traveled from Mali to, you know, current day Saudi Arabia and deposited gold absolutely everywhere he went, and it collapsed the economy pretty much everywhere that he went.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, and he did a lot of like ancient brain drain, right? He took a lot of
yes, that is also true.
philosophers and doctors
And bears, oh my.
Yeah, everyone who was a big thinker and took him to his kingdom and not only destabilized the economy, but I think also just like took everyone of value away. If I remember correctly, I might be just misremembering, but I think that was Musa.
Sounds about right.
Sorry, that was a tangent, which is great because we have lots of time to talk about everything here.
we do.
Well, it's all very interesting, to be fair. I'm having a great time.
I love this stuff. Well, and okay, if we sort of try to slightly veer back to the world of Harry Potter here, I think Elixir of Life is like a perfect sweet spot from like the system of magic we have, right? Because the sacrosanct rule, like in Rowling's world, is like life and death. Like magic, like cannot and should not mess with life and death. Like you can't reverse death. You can't, you know, undo death. Like, you know, it's a very like permanent thing. And I think Elixir of Life works really well with that. I think if we had like a traditional, like you drink it and you are immortal forever, that would kind of break the world of that Rowling wrote. Whereas this, like, you know, death is still very much a thing. It is still very much going to happen. You're just like putting it off. And that seems like a much more reasonable part of the world building.
Yes, and it's still sufficiently scarce, you know, of course, that it's not something that, you know, is constantly being trafficked in, but is very contained. I think that's part of I don't know exactly how we view Nicholas Flamel's decision to keep using it but not really share it, because, of course, I mean, one of the effects of sharing it could be very negative to the tune of what we were just discussing. Of course, of what if everyone had access to it, but it was kind of, you know, something you could fight over. But of course, he does keep it to himself and uses it. And what does that do in relation to, you know, he's sort of defying something that should be fairly absolute. Of course, not permanently, and that's important for us to know that he is.
He's procrastinating.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe, you know what, maybe he's just, like, he obviously has to be incredibly smart to be able to develop that with Dumbledore. And maybe he's just a scientist, and there are scientists who just, like, try things out on themselves. And maybe that's also why it was a relatively easy decision for him to say, okay, I'm not going to take it anymore. It was just him trying it out if it actually works. And maybe he took lots of notes and extensive research on himself. And his research was done, and he just, maybe at the end procrastinated a little bit. But then I always felt his decision to not continue living was such an easy decision for him.
Yeah. So, Gilad, I hear what you're saying, but if we look at it from Nicholas Flamel's point of view, he makes the thing, and he, looks in the mirror long and hard and thinks that, if I use this, it will be an ethical use of the potion. I am doing no harm. I would like to postpone death, not forever, but for a while, me and my wife, so we can continue doing research, donating to charity, doing some good in the world. Good.
Have a nice retirement.
Yes. Which is fine. I feel like we can't really fault him for that. I think there are not many people who would just be like, oh, I have the option of living longer. Pass. So if we assume that, him using it for himself is as ethical as it gets, I actually think it kind of makes sense not to share it, because then he's playing God. Yes, he could, be like, I'm only going to give this to good people or people who deserve it or people who are helping the world. But why does he get to decide that? I feel like, it's sort of much more unethical for one man to decide who's good, who's bad, who deserves to live and die. So I think sort of the absolute, nobody gets it because I don't get to decide who gets it, I feel like is the ethical thing to do in this scenario.
I think it kind of reminds me of what Dumbledore does with the Elder Wand, that he sees this history of people trying to do something, terrible things with a lot of power and, more magic than they can handle. And he says, my job is going to be to own it, to keep it from other people, and to tame it, but to still use it. And that's good. There's something to me, though, about the fact that Harry, both with the Elder Wand and the Sorcerer's Stone, when he comes across both of them, that he goes a step further than either Dumbledore or Nicholas Flamel is willing to go. And he says, you know what? No, not that he intentionally does it with the Sorcerer's Stone. He doesn't try to destroy it, but just from a symbolic perspective, that he...
And he does with the Resurrection Stone.
Yes, he does, right, that more intentionally with that as well, right? So he fully severs the connection between humans and magic that shouldn't exist, right? He is the master of death in that way, not in a completely opposite way. Not completely opposite from Nicholas Flamel, definitely opposite from Voldemort. He is a little bit more prepared and capable of, recognizing what needs to happen next and to have the sort of lack of fear of death or of being magically overpowered that neither Flamel nor Dumbledore ever reaches, never achieves, of saying, I'm not even having any part of it. This is gone now. This is over. And, of course, that's part of how he conquers Voldemort.
I think it really helps that Harry is quite young when he is making all of these decisions, because I think it would be much harder ask from somebody who is an adult that has family and friend connections and kind of wider and both wider and personal issues that they feel like those objects might be of great help with. I think it'd be much harder for them to just sort of give them up and destroy them for greater good, as it is. Because it's not really that impressive that a young person isn't afraid of death. Because we all thought we were invincible when we were, teenagers.
Yeah. So Dumbledore says that I have known for some time now that you are the better man. So Harry goes farther than Dumbledore and Flamel, but I actually think it's because he has more human connection. I think Flamel and Dumbledore both believe that they are so extraordinary that they believe that they have to be the ones to tame this magic, on behalf of, the Wizarding World, because they think they are the extraordinary ones with the responsibility. Whereas Harry, I think, is more humble and more connected to people. And so he doesn't view himself as extraordinary and is like, no, like, I shouldn't be the one to tame this because I'm no more special than anyone else. I don't think anyone should have it, including me.
But he's the chosen one.
Yes, the irony being that he is more special than anyone, but he doesn't feel it.
Well, that's what makes him more special than everyone. That's part of what's so great about the fact that he, is kind of average in his classes. Like, he doesn't have almost any magical knowledge beyond, not even like the best, but even just the average witch or wizard. And that's exactly what gives him the power to do what even these other great wizards who came before him couldn't do.
From a mechanical standpoint, I'm curious, how much immortality do you think the elixir of life gives you? Like, one swig is, a week, a month, a year?
Probably depends on how you'd make it. There's probably ways to make it to be, more and less concentrated or something. That's how I would imagine it.
Yeah.
It can't be too much.
Like, we know it's not more than a few years, because I think by Deathly Hallows, Nicholas Flamel is dead. That's per the Apocrypha. There was a rumor back in the day that Nicholas Flamel would be the defense professor in year 7. And Rowling wrote on her website being like, oh, guys, he dead. Like, no, that was done.
Well, also, we know Dumbledore says at the end of Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, excuse me, that it's going to take me some time. I've had, almost 20 years to undo the Sorcerer's Stone in my head, but it's just going to be that way forever. But that he says that Flamel has enough elixir stored to get his affairs in order. And, getting your affairs in order doesn't take more than a few months, I imagine. And that is even with elixir stored away. It's not even with the elixir that he had already just drunk. So I think it might be maybe not even more than a month at a time.
That feels about right.
What do you think it tastes like? Do you think they just put a little shot of it in their morning coffee as they're having their breakfast?
So, actually, I read this incredible fanfic, 20 years ago. I wish I could find it. But it's about the Flamels, after the events of Sorcerer's Stone, and them sort of coming to terms with it, with the end of their lives. So Perenelle basically accepts it much more graciously than Nicholas. She just poisons a chocolate, has a big box of chocolates that she just snacks from, one a day and whatever. As just eventually she takes the poison one and is done. With Nicholas is okay, I know I need to stop. I know that the elixir is running out. I know there's only so much left. I know that the end is coming, but he can't bring himself to stop taking it while supplies lasts. And so the fanfic is beginning of Half-Blood Prince in mid-1996. Voldemort is now out in the open, and he's oh man, Dumbledore is going to need to face off Voldemort. And so he's all right, no, I can't stop taking it until it's gone. So he takes all of his remaining elixir and sends it to Dumbledore at the beginning of Half-Blood Prince, and he's good, now this elixir will do some good and protect the world from Voldemort. And he dies, thinking that he's done a great thing, but Dumbledore is of course dying at this point.
Oh, interesting.
In that fanfic, are they is the elixir of life making you young and fit, or is it the way the Fantastic Beasts movies portray them?
Oh no, the movies are a load of crap. No. I'm
not saying that it's in the movies. I'm asking you, what do you think, or what did the fanfic describe it as? Because for me, that makes a big difference.
I mean, I think we were sort of all on the same page until Crimes of Grindelwald came out, which is that it keeps you at the age you are when you drink it. So if you drink it, you just don't age.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense to me.
Who the hell would choose to live 600 years like the Flamel in Crimes of Grindelwald? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
No one would want that. I'm sorry, you'd offer me elixir of life, and I was I'm good. You know what?
Although, just to be fair, the Crimes of Grindelwald version of Flamel, he is still, he's sharp as a tack. He is still ambulatory, however, even though he is a bit, shuffling and, old looking. So it's not the worst if you had to be stuck as like an old person who is still has their wits about them and can still, move around and do most things, but they're just old. It's not the worst. So I wouldn't necessarily say
move
no.
around and do most things? He takes like several hours to walk a block, and like a draft of wind would knock him over.
Yeah, but like he can, there is plenty of old people who can't do that.
Well, also, I think, he's not doing this for his own comfort, as we were discussing. He's doing it for research. It's not an egotistical thing. We hope. So,
and he still has his magic, and he still has his mind, which is usually what goes for older people once they get very old. It's not. I much prefer the interpretation that you just stay the age you were when you start drinking it. But even as Crimes of Grindelwald version, I think that's not too bad.
Agree to disagree on that one.
You just have more vanity.
Yes. We do know that about me. So, Elixir of Life. Listeners, I'm curious to hear from you. What do you think of Elixir of Life? Like, would you chug it given the chance? Because, I think we're all like, I wouldn't mind a little bit here and there.
Yeah, it depends on if you stay the same age or not.
Right, yes. Assuming you stay the same age. Otherwise, nah. Otherwise, you can keep it.
Otherwise, you need all of the next potions we're going to discuss, all of the healing potions, and just every morning take 15 potions to even be able to get out of bed, which sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Which is just like being an old person anyway, right?
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Well, Voldemort's very...
sounds very painful.
Yes, and he's attuned to that because we haven't actually discussed that part of the Elixir of Life, but not to extend the conversation much, but one of the only other times it's raised is when Dumbledore is explaining why why Voldemort wouldn't rely on an Elixir of Life to stay immortal. And I just think that's interesting, right? That he feels that it would be a dependency on something rather than it being something inherent to him. That it could be tainted, or that, the supply could run out somehow. It could run dry. Yeah, I just found that little bit about the Elixir of Life interesting, just to give us a stronger understanding of how it works, and also what the implications are of using it versus using another way of achieving immortality, of which there are probably very few, but Horcruxes seem to be another.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Voldemort, lives a violent life, and, people who live violent lives can expect violent ends. So, yes, if you are a Dark Lord who regularly kills, tortures, and maims people, you would have to be concerned about your stock of Elixir of Life. Whereas, I imagine Flamel was not overly fussed about anyone interfering with his stores, because they're like, yeah, okay. He's getting on with it.
There probably were attempts over the years to steal from him, but
sure, he's probably
confident enough to say, okay, I have my ways, no one's going to get to this, and I'm just going to stay very low-key.
Mm-hmm. But yes, transitioning to healing potions, there's a, fairly significant number of examples we see of varying potions that can heal you, which makes sense, because, if you're looking at powerful magical liquids, medicine is sort of one of the obvious applications of it. Obviously the one that, most sticks out in your consciousness is Skele-Gro, which, first of all, I love that the Wizarding World down in Florida is, merchandising Skele-Gro. And, look, it's a fun bottle with a little skull on it. And it's who wouldn't want, a potion to mend bones in their merchandise? So Skele-Gro can be used to either regrow bones from scratch or to mend them, because we see that Fleur gives Skele-Gro to Griphook in Deathly Hallows to, fix his legs. So it seems just like an all-purpose bone fixer potion.
So does that mean that all potions work the same for everyone. So, because Drippo obviously is a goblin, and that kind of implies that Skele-Gro works the same way with goblins, like with wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that works the same way with every potion? Because I always felt
Definitely not.
Yeah,
No.
because I always felt like magic in general and potions always really depends on who uses them. And it's surprising that just worked.
So it's very much a case-by-case basis with potions. Some potions only work on humans, as we see with polyjuice, where, not for goblins, not for giants, not for cats. Some potions, either work or have different effects on animals, as we talked about earlier with the shrinking solution on Trevor, the tadpole. I imagine that the Wolfsbane potion probably should be taken by werewolves and, probably wouldn't be great if fed to a real wolf or to a non-werewolf or whatever it is. So I think there's no hard and fast rule. The one hard and fast rule we know is that potions seem to be for living creatures. Like, we don't see any potion use on inanimate objects. But within sort of the realm of living things, I think it's a very case-by-case thing. And, I imagine the warning labels on potions are very, very important, being like, only for human use, or, goblins and house elves too.
Do you think there's a nutrition fact on potions?
I mean, if not, you can just use Scarlin's Ravella spell, as we've discussed.
Probably that just means that the goblins have the same bones that humans do.
Yeah, very similar bones.
Oh, do we think potions have calories?
Absolutely.
Sorry, the nutrition label thing.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Oh.
I mean, they're made out of things that contain energy, so when you put them together and cook them, I mean, they would still be there.
Maybe they're like low-calorie potions.
Oh, yeah.
Potion zero. Skele-Gro zero.
Yeah, then you only grow really dainty thin bones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh god, that is the worst diet ever. just vanish your bones and grow new ones if you're worried about being big boned. Oh, that's terrible.
Well, our first episode is called Horcruxes is the new fad diet, so there's we have circled back to fad diets. Now it's Skele-Gro. It's the new fad diet.
But yeah, so I imagine Skele-Gro is kind of like the deflating draft, where it just it grows or fixes whatever bones need growing or fixing. It's not like a specific it strengthens this bone, it grows that bone thing.
Yeah,
I would assume so. Yeah,
goes back to the original skeleton you had before.
Yeah,
but a very useful potion. That is one of the potions I would like to have as someone who has broken bones before, even though it sounds very, very painful.
Yeah. I wonder if it's as painful if you're just mending bones instead of growing them from scratch.
Didn't Madame Pomfrey say it wouldn't have been as painful? Which makes sense, because
yes,
growing whole bone is a much longer process.
I always understood it as depending on the amount of change to your body that needs to happen, that would be the amount of pain. So if you just broke something and it needs to mend it, so there would be a small amount of regrowth and rearrangement. But if your bone is outright missing, then this whole thing will have to be regrown, and hence all the world of pain. Although you'd think they'd have painkillers for that.
You'd think. But then maybe they interfere with that potion,
Maybe, yeah. That would be annoying, wouldn't it?
Or Madame Pomfrey is just they need to learn.
Maybe, because I remember my grandmother was a nurse, and she was very much of the old school thinking that it needs to hurt so it's working, and also as a deterrent, that so you've got a bad scratch on your arm while doing this thing, so maybe that's a deterrent from doing that thing.
Yeah.
So she was a big believer in that it should hurt some. Maybe Madame Pomfrey is of that school of thought.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
I think Skele-Gro is a little bit in the category of potions more like polyjuice, where it takes a long time and it's painful. It's something that forces your body into different places, and that's why, the more bones you have to grow, the more uncomfortable it is. It's not just a poof and it's done sort of potion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Skele-Gro is also one of the few potions we know is just, like, commercially available. Well, okay, that's a bit of an assumption. So either Madame Pomfrey and Fleur Delacour are just, like, constantly brewing Skele-Gro on the off chance they'll need it, or they just, like, have a bottle that they bought somewhere. We definitely know Skele-Gro is shelf-stable. We know that much. And, since it comes in bottles, I'm assuming that you can just buy Skele-Gro. So that's nice.
I'm assuming you can buy it more than just Skele-Gro, and like a couple of healing potions would be.
I would say Molly Weasley has at least a couple of bottles of Skele-Gro on standby in her bathroom.
She has one in every room of the burrow.
At all times. Because that seems to be like a very useful thing to have in the house.
I imagine Skele-Gro is also one of those things that is really, really bad to get wrong. And so, wizards are just like, we don't want you trying your home-brewed version of the potion that is growing bones in your body. Like, why don't you let the professionals handle this one? Mm. Which I respect.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of similarly to the way we don't, like, cook our own cough syrup and...
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
It's unlike in the wizarding world, we don't really learn in regular school. It would be a little bit like if we learned from middle school onward. Like, of course, I know we learn chemistry, but we don't really learn how to make products that we could ingest, Like, I think it's kind of incredible that they spend so much time on it. It seems useful. It seems really helpful, but yeah, even so, there are certain kinds of things at the very least that they really don't recommend for people to make on their own.
Yes. Because, flu powder is the other one. In, like, the Pottermore article on flu powder, like, the people who make it are like, guys, stop trying to make your own knockoff flu powder. It is, like, 2 nuts a scoop. Pay the 2 nuts.
Right. I could see the ministry also subsidizing that because of all of the St. Mungos, or like illegal stuff that would happen as a result of it that they just don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, the people running St. Mungos are just like, we are going to, like, insure everyone against Skele-Gro because, like, we ain't got time for this.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk of cough syrups and all that. We do hear about cough potions. Namely, Fred and George disguise Amortentia as a cough potion when they ship it to students in Half-Blood Prince. So I guess it's just magical Robitussin?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like...
Wait, does it make you cough or does it stop you coughing?
I mean, coming from Fred and George.
That is an excellent question.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a very good point. Because I was going to be like, how is that just different from Muggle medicine? And that would be how.
I mean, wizards don't really take Muggle medicine.
Yeah, that too.
They don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
God, you just know that there are, like, Muggle-borns who are just like, look, I got this cough potion, and Hermione's parents are just like, just take the Robitussin. Please just take the Robitussin.
So the sort of colds and infections and whatever that they presumably get, like we know in the second year, in Harry's second year, that there are a lot of kids who end up going because they get a cold to the hospital wing. Do we think that those are just regular grade colds and that, like, a Muggle remedy would help with that? Maybe it's not as effective as something like the pepper up potion, but, like, what would there be a case to be made for, someone to tell Madame Pomfrey, you could store some regular other, Muggle medicines there and it would be helpful as well for people? Or are all the wizarding things just so much better than the Muggle ones? There's not really a point to it.
Little of A, little of B. I imagine that, like, wizards are susceptible to bacteria and viruses and all that. There might be magical ways to fix it, but, like, I don't think their bodies are, like, immune to viruses. Though, wouldn't it be nice? And then I think there are also, like, magical bugs on top of that, that they're susceptible to.
Yes.
I imagine Madame Pomfrey probably thinks of Muggle medicine in a way that the doctors here would think of like alternative medicine. They'd be like,
Yeah.
well, okay, you tell me it works, but like, no, I'm not gonna stock that.
Yeah. Like with Arthur and the Stitches at St. Mungo's, where it's like, oh, it's this like, weird, quirky Muggle thing that we're trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but that's also much more insane because it's against like a magical venom. It's not like it was a Stitch because he like cut open his leg or something.
Yeah.
And like we know because we are familiar with Stitches that it is a perfectly normal thing to do. But like if that is not part of your kind of normal life, and if you just describe what you're actually doing, it sounds horrendous. And it's understandable that wizards are like, what? You take a needle and thread basically and like sew a person together as if they were a piece of cloth that you've just torn. It's like, it does sound crazy. And if you don't have to do it, why would you do it?
Stitches still sound crazy to me.
I mean, yes, but they work.
But they work.
True.
Yeah. The only time I've gotten them is when I had my wisdom teeth out, but it was stitches. Like, it makes sense. It's a mechanical solution. You just sewed the thing up.
I think one thing that would make a magical solution, let's say to cutting open your leg, instead of using stitches, that they would almost always be able to prevent any kind of scarring or be able to wipe that away very quickly. And that's part of what they would prefer is they would say, yeah, I mean, you could get stitches if you can prove to me that they work. Let's say that they work. I still, don't see why you would want to do it and leave, those that like stitch marks, visible on your skin. Why don't you just wipe it away with magic and fix the whole thing with magic? And that would probably be Madame Pomfrey's approach to a lot of things.
Yep.
Which I think is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, talk of the stitches and all that. Another healing potion we hear about is the blood replenishing potion, which is what Arthur has to take, I think, every hour after being bitten by Nagini. Which, that's a really, really good potion to have. It's one of the ways the Wizarding World is, so far ahead of the Muggle one. They have no need for blood transfusions. And, we have a lot of advanced technology, even in the 30 years since the books came out. But, blood transfusions, still blood transfusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still have to have people donating blood, and it has to be stored, and it has to be transported. And, yeah, so if there was
and
just
it needs to match blood types.
Exactly,
and all
yes.
of that.
And it has to be free of contamination and all that kind of stuff. So if you could just have a blood replenishing potion that could work well for everybody, that would be a complete game changer. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, blood transfusion also sounds really, really crazy if you've never heard it.
Yeah,
we're just going to take blood from random people, store it, make sure it's safe, and then put it in your body, and now you're good to go. It sounds as crazy as stitches if you're a wizard. So yeah.
Yeah, I imagine if Arthur was like, you know what we're trying? We're actually going to try to give me blood from someone else. I think Molly would have killed him then and there.
Yes, and Molly definitely has blood replenishing potion right next to Skele-Gro on her medicine cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the potions in the Wizarding World, I was like, we could take our leave in the Muggle world. I don't know if we need a draft of living death in the Muggle world, but blood replenishing potion would just so vastly improve society. I'm curious, do you guys think it needs to be adapted for blood type? If you're giving blood replenishing potion to someone with O negative, you add a sprig of mint or something. Or is it just a universal equivalent?
Interesting.
I would assume it's a universal one.
Yeah, the question is does it just make your blood kind of produce more blood more quickly, or is it how does it mechanically work? Because that would then make the difference for me.
I mean, I imagine, I don't know if it multiplies your blood or if it just creates more blood in your system. Mm-hmm. If the latter, then yeah, it probably should be customized for type. Whereas if it's just manipulating what's already in there, then you're good.
Exactly.
I think it must manipulate what's in there. Yeah, whether by multiplying it or by triggering your body to create a lot more somehow. That sounds good.
Yeah. It also, because this is a world where vampires live, like, I think the blood replenishing potion definitely makes life, or, well, not life, but existence for vampires much, much easier.
Does it, though? Because it's not blood, it's blood replenishing potion, and they want to drink blood.
Well, yes, but it creates a lot more blood. So, like, you know, this way, like, if the vampire needs blood, like, you know, however they're getting blood, like, you know, whoever they drink from or whoever donates the blood for them can just, like, you know, take a swig of potion and they're good.
So you're talking about people donating the blood. I was thinking of, great, now the vampire just needs one victim locked up somewhere and can just feed him the potion and feed on the first feather.
I mean, I'm going for a slightly more wholesome alternative,
Okay.
but
it could be
either
consensual.
one. Yeah.
Well, even if it is just, well, let's not, I don't know. If it is one victim, but I guess the idea would be that if there's a blood replenishing potion, that the vampire wouldn't constantly need to find new victims. I do think that's an improvement, whether or not it's consensual.
Yeah.
I think it depends who you ask. You ask that one victim.
Maybe the one person would just be, you know.
Yeah. Well, because, so there was this show, My Babysitter's a Vampire, and there was and so they have vampires, and so the school is doing a blood drive, and the vampires, like, hijack the truck of blood, and, like, the main character is just like you know, it's bad that they're taking the blood that, like, is going to go to victims and all that, but also this way, like, they're not biting anyone or hurting anyone or killing anyone, so, like, lesser of the evils. So, like, yes, in this case, like, you know, you do blood drives for people. There are, like, no adverse effects for them. There's kind of an unlimited supply, and then the vampires don't have to hunt.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think this vastly improves a society where vampires are a part of it.
Maybe that was the original application, and then they realized, oh, wait, this could also be good for health.
Yeah. Exactly.
So give them blood, gallons of the stuff. Give them all that they can drink, and it will never be enough. So give them blood. Grab a glass because there's going to be a flood.
Oh, and then there's just one quick healing potion that is mentioned. There's a reviving potion used on Lynch in the Quidditch World Cup in Goblet of Fire. So apparently there are potions that can, like, revive you if you're knocked out. So that's nice.
Like, I don't know the English translation to it, but like this, is it called smelling salt, or like the salt you put under?
Yeah, smelling
smelling
salt.
salt.
Yeah, I guess that would be a potion equivalent of the Enervate spell. If for some reason you couldn't or didn't want to use that, you would use the...
Why didn't they use that?
Reviving potion.
Why a potion?
That's a good question. Maybe he just needed something splashed in his face.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just water.
Well, he's being revived with cups of potion, it says.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, I assume they're, like, making him swallow it, but I suppose, yeah, we're not sure.
It's really just cups of tea.
You know what?
That he's being revived with.
So I'm not watching the World Cup, but I feel like that would vastly improve things if, like, you know, the players are playing and they're tired and someone just comes up and he's like, here's a cup of tea to make you feel better before the second half.
With a nice little tray and biscuits.
Yeah,
no?
yeah, twist of lemon.
Yeah, that sounds good.
More time for advertisement breaks.
Exactly.
Speaking of tea, Irvin, I've started watching Downton Abbey. This is finally happening. So I will understand our crossover episode.
Oh, good. I will see you in the comments there. But, of course, the major healing potion that we hear of is the Pepper Up Potion, which is just a remedy for a common cold. So first of all, just like the blood replenishing potion, like, wow, would that be an incredible thing to have in the Muggle world?
I would love that. That would be so
I
good.
would love Pepper Up Potion. Like, I have to assume that the potion only works on wizards, that it has no effect on muggles. Otherwise, I'm sorry, the wizards are just being dicks by withholding it from us.
Well, that's just consequences of the statute of secrecy. See,
I think so too. Yeah.
You can offer it as just like a normal remedy. They're like, yeah, we've combined such and such chemicals that nobody knows. It's a proprietary formula, but here's a cure for the common cold.
Would they though?
They should.
That's a different thing. I think someone like the Malfoys would if they could make a lot of money out of it.
Would this be your number one thing, Irvin? Like, from the wizarding world, that just, if it could secretly be sneaked into the Muggle world, should be there?
Yes. Like, it's not the one thing I want. The one thing I want is a summoning charm. But, like, the one thing the wizards should share with the Muggle world is pepper potion.
Yeah. I picture it as kind of tasty. Maybe it's just because it's called pepper up, but I think of mint, peppermint probably. It just feels like it would kind of have that whole refreshing feeling, and then, the steam coming out of your ears and the whole picture.
I'm thinking black pepper because I love black pepper. But peppermint is also good.
Yeah, no, I also thought, like, sort of pepper, like a bit of a kick, like, kind of like when you eat something, like, a little bit spicy when you, like, are stuffed up and it just, like, clears out everything.
Yeah.
I think it's great, too, that it's, like, to pepper up.
Yeah.
Is that a term in English? Actually, I'm not sure, no. But to sort of, like, I don't know, to increase your energy.
Yeah, to up one's pep.
Yes, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, like a pep talk.
It feels like a play on words. I like it. I like the name.
Yeah.
First of all, I love the visual of, like, smoke coming out of your ears when you drink it. Like, that's so fun.
Yes.
And it's working. Instead of it being painful, you just have the steam coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
There's that scene in the third movie where I think Harry has these candies don't exist in the books, although they are kind of wonderful, but where they eat the candy and then they sound like something, they sound like an elephant or whatever.
Yeah. And
then Harry takes one and it makes him sound like a train, and he has steam come out of his ears. Which is a great image, and but it just makes me think of the pepper up potion and what that would be like, to walk around with steam coming out of your ears like all day. It sounds like it takes hours for it to stop happening.
And does it come with sound effects?
Yeah, like a little bit of a whistle. Yeah, I mean, it has to be, like, somewhat long-lasting, because, like, otherwise, like, you drink it and it's fine, but... Like, the way it sounds is that just, like, people are, like, walking down the halls with smoke coming out of their ears. Which, how fun. I think it's also, like, a brilliant invention from a literary perspective, like, from a, writing these books point of view. Because, like, you just know that if it weren't for this, there would be 1,000,005 comments online of they're like, oh my god, these books are so unrealistic. Harry spent 7 years in, like, damp, chilly Scotland and he never once has a cold. And so, yes, you have a pepper potion, your characters don't get colds despite being in Scotland, and yes, that you just head off that criticism right off the bat.
Is that true? That enough people complained that Harry Potter was unrealistic because Harry never goes to the bathroom. Is that true? That the reason she constantly mentions it in Cormoran's Strike books is because of that?
I don't think that's why she mentions it, but I definitely think that, like, that is a thing.
It would be, like...
Yeah.
Readers should understand that no matter the book, you can't just describe every little detail of a life, because it would just be a very boring book.
Yeah.
You don't describe every sandwich you eat, every shower you take.
Yeah, or, you could mention it if you want to add color, but it's not something that you really pay attention to. Oh, wow, they didn't talk about, them being sick.
Right, like, Harry woke up in a blind panic as he was, like, pulling on his socks. We're like, we assume he brushed his teeth.
Right.
At some point.
Well, I mean, he's a teenager.
Well, we assume he went to the bathroom, at any rate.
We definitely don't have to assume that.
Yeah, that's why he was in a panic. He needed to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like, a lot of those criticisms are just like, oh, we never see him take a shower and this, that, the other. So
he goes to a bath. He takes a bath once. That's enough for you.
Yeah.
It's a magical bath. It keeps you clean.
Like, Harry washes himself at, like, 2.5 times in, like, 7 years.
Again, magical baths. They last longer.
Or, you could just, like, scourgify yourself and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very teenagey.
Oh, doesn't it, though? So, the times we see the pepper up in the series is there's a spate of colds in Chamber of Secrets, and everyone's just given it, including Ginny, because you have the visual of, like, steam coming out from her with the red hair and everything. And the other time is the champions in the Triwizard Second Task are given it, which, like, yeah, makes sense. If they're in a lake in Scotland in February, give them some pepper up potion.
And it at least makes you warmer. I mean, that's something that we know from that moment, is that Harry doesn't necessarily have a cold when he goes in the lake, but the pepper up potion, when it, of course, makes sense because the smoke's coming out of the ears. But I like that it's bound together, this idea of curing you of a cold and then curing you of cold. We already do that in English, where we bind those words together, and I imagine it does both at once. It warms you up, it makes you kind of spry and healthy again, and it's just an overall good feeling. Okay, you're back to where you were whenever it's sort of winter time and you have a cold or whatever is going on.
I wonder if it has like preventative effect as well as helping you with your symptoms. So if you have a pepper up potion before, you're in a situation where you expect you might get a cold, would it just protect you from it? Could you just drink pepper up potion every day as like your beverage of choice to not get a cold during winter?
Maybe. Huh. Probably it would work, but of course the same answer as we have for other potions, that just you wouldn't want to waste your potion in that way unless you specifically at a particular time expected to otherwise get a cold.
And I imagine you'd also, like, build up a tolerance to it and whatnot. Like, we don't take cough medicine every day, even, like, as a preventative thing, because then, like, when we do get sick, it probably wouldn't do anything.
That's fair.
Yeah. So there's a good bit of apocrypha about the pepper up potion, and there are conflicting sources about who invented it. So Pottermore versus the famous wizard cards. So if you recall, like, as the books were coming out, Joe wrote these, like, famous wizard cards for the video games. Like, we know it was her, which says that Glover Hipworth invented it circa 1800. Then Pottermore, which came out after the books, said that Linford Stitchcombe, who was Harry's ancestor, invented pepper potion in the 12th century. So, it doesn't really matter either way for our purposes. I suppose we could say that, like, Linford Stitchcombe invented the basic version in the 12th century, and then Hipworth vastly improved it in the 1800s. So they, like, share joint credit.
Yeah, and he added the smoke out of the ears feature.
I mean, that's, yes, that definitely
point.
is enough to count as the inventor. I would love pepper up potion. Just, like, colds are so annoying.
Yeah, especially if you're traveling or there's something specific you need to do. And
Right. And, like, traveling is when it happens, because there's change in temperature and you're out and about and it's stressful. Mm-hmm. Like, I so often, like, get a cold on, like, big international trips, and I was like,
but ugh. Does it, my question here is, does it really cure the cold, or is it like our medicine when having a cold where it just gets rid of the symptoms and you might be even weaker afterwards because you've not taken the time to properly heal? Or do you think it really just gets rid of it?
I don't know.
I think it gets rid of it. I don't know why, except for the fact that it just sort of is described as immediately making you feel better. So I don't think it would leave you weaker. It feels like you're back. You're back, baby. Like that's why it sounds so great. Is you really just feel like the pepper up potion brings you right back to normal, and if anything, a little bit more energetic and ready to take on the day.
Like, I guess I always thought of it as like burning out the like virus or bacteria or whatever is making you sick. So you drink it and it just like, burns up whatever's inside you, smoke comes out your ears, and then it's gone from your system.
That would sound really, really amazing.
Yeah, because the other thing is for the Spade of Colds, I think everyone is like given Pepper Up Potion like once. Like I don't think it says that people were like constantly taking Pepper Up Potion. They were all just given a dose. So yeah, I think it's like a quick fix, which is why I want it so badly.
I want to know, though, I don't know if they have anything like this in the Wizarding Worlds, but if there's anything for allergies and whether Pepper Up Potion like clears out symptoms like that. Because I have very bad sort of environmental and also indoor allergies, dust allergies, and that makes me feel like I have a cold every time I come into contact with it.
Yeah. My seasonal allergies are terrible, so like my fucking kingdom for an anti-allergy potion.
Right? I think if the Wizarding World can also come up with a solution for that, I'm right there with you, Irvin, about that being the number one thing.
Yeah, right. Like if the Most Extraordinary Society of Potioneers is taking requests, this is my request. Please and thank you. Okay, listeners. Well, if you've been listening and you're like, ooh, we're about 3 hours in and they're not done. Yeah, we're not done. I think for the first time ever in our history, we need to do a 3-part episode. Who would have thought? Who would have thought potions would be the thing we just can't stop talking about?
Should we all be in remedial potions?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, okay, next, yeah, this is basically not a podcast as so much as a doctoral thesis on potions. So, listeners, we're gonna take a break here to give you guys a break, and then we're gonna just keep going. But to wrap things up for today, Gilad, thank you so much for visiting us and continuing to visit us at the Three Broomsticks to talk about potions.
Thank you, and let me know if at any point I should probably start paying rent with the amount of time I'm spending here. But for now, I'm enjoying my stay.
Rosemary is just looking at us being like, they're never gonna leave. Well, yes, it's been wonderful having you here, and it will be wonderful to continue having you here for the next installment.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And you're not plugging anything or on socials, right?
Nope. Still firmly under that rock.
Okay, great.
But thank you so much. It was such a pleasure being here and talking to you all again today.
And if, just like Gilad, you have enjoyed your time at the pub today with us, please rate and review us online or tell your friends about our show. You can tell us quite how much we talk about potions if you think that will make them more likely to listen to us. And if it'll make them less likely to listen to us, tell them about other episodes that don't go on into 3 parts. So it's up to you. It's up to you. And huge thank you again to Ryan Post, who bought us this round of drinks at the Three Broomsticks. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. We hope you got your money's worth with the never-ending potions episode.
We just have so much to talk about. I mean, that's what happens in the pub. And if you'd like to buy us the next round, head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with the numeral 3 to sign up.
And listeners, if you want to find us online to, either tell us, what potions you want us to continue talking about or to talk about anything else, we are on various social media channels, which are linked to on our website and in the show notes. There you will find chains of emojis from Sophia. You'll get a heads up on your recommended reading, which is literally just the potion section of the lexicon, apparently, forevermore. We're going to share our upcoming Patreon topics, reactions to the trailers and the TV show, and all kinds of good stuff. And you can also find us on our website, which is 3broomstickspod.com with the 3 spelled out. You can submit a topic, anything but potions. Let us know your thoughts and just, chat with us over there.
And next time we meet at the Three Broomsticks, who would have guessed we'll be discussing more potions? I'm looking forward to finishing up our discussions there.
And we will finish next time. We will.
We promise.
If it's the last thing we do.
Yes, yes, we promise. Well, it was fun, and we will continue having fun with potions. I'm Karoline.
And I'm Ev.
And I'm Irvin. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time in the Three Broomsticks.
Cheers!
Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butterbeer.
This episode of The Three Broomsticks was edited by Patrick Musilek. The theme song was written and performed by the Faithful Sidekicks. Make sure to check them out at thefaithfulsidekicks.com.
Yeah, Patrick told me that he can't make a seamless transition, so just let listeners,
So that's where
into the secret.
Intermission music comes in.
Yeah.
I was watching the 2001: The Space Odyssey yesterday, and there was just the big words intermission came in the middle of the movie, and I was like, oh, didn't realize that's gonna happen.
I literally, my TED Talk, if I ever have to give a TED Talk, is why we need intermission in movies. It is unacceptable that we're expected to sit through half an hour of previews and 3.5-hour movies without intermission.
Well, yeah, for 3.5-hour movies, I mean, that should be a no-brainer.
That's true.
Literally, I went to see the last Avatar movie, which is 3 hours and 20-something minutes.
It is
and I timed
long,
it.
yeah.
There was 32 minutes of previews and ads. Literally at the 30-minute mark of previews, they were like, and now a minute-long excerpt from Avengers Endgame, and I nearly leapt out of my seat with rage. So it was 3 hours and 55 minutes that we were expected to sit there. And I was no.
Well, you can come in later and skip the first bit, but yeah.
Oh, we do. I came in 20 minutes after start time, and there were still 10 minutes of previews
and
left.
even so, okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, maybe it worked, though, because it made you remember how angry you were at the ads and the trailers, which means that you remember them better.
Yeah, it's brilliant marketing. Make someone hate your movie a year before it comes out. I mean, honestly, our listeners can take an intermission whenever they want. They can just